Good morning. Welcome to the special meeting conference of the Newark Municipal Council on Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. In accordance with New Jersey law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the Star Ledger, the Jersey Journal, and the public at large, establishing the date, time, and location of this meeting. In addition, the agenda for this meeting was disseminated on August 9th, 2024, at the time of preparation and posted on the website of the City of Newark. Roll call, please.
Council, absent. Crump,
Present.
Gonzalez, absent. Kelly,
Here.
Quintana,
Here.
Ramos, absent. Scott Roundtree,
Present.
Silva,
Here.
President McIver.
Present.
Council President, council members, we are on page 3 of the agenda. Public hearing, second reading, and final passage. 60 SFAS is an ordinance to amend Title II to define vacant lots, clarify various definitions, and establish registration requirements and fee schedules for vacant lots, sponsored by Councilman Council, second by Councilman Crump. Is there anyone present wishing to be heard on this ordinance?
Before we have public comment, can we have someone from the administration explain this item for the public?
Good morning, Council President, Council members. Allison Ladd, Director of Economic and Housing Development. The ordinance before you is a companion piece to an ordinance this council approved last year regarding assessing fees to vacant buildings. This ordinance is requesting your consideration to allow the city to assess fees to vacant land. And we would use a similar protocol that we are currently using to register and assess vacant buildings in a way which we would register and assess vacant land. The fee schedule that's being proposed is for smaller lots, it would be $50 a square foot. The first renewal would be $1 a square foot, and the second would be $1.50 per square foot. And for any subsequent renewal, it would be $2 a square foot. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for council? Seeing none, public speaking?
Thank you.
Lisa Parker. Every time these ordinances come here that you're amending, it's nothing more than word salad, because clearly there's vacant lots here that the city is not charging any type of fees to, fining the owners of these vacant lots, and they aren't expressing what changes you made from the original. So how is the public supposed to be informed about what changes you're making, and it's coming here today, and you asked the director to come up here to explain this word salad on the ordinance? Public hearings are for the public to have an understanding of what you're voting on and why you're voting on it. Up to now, you continue to disrespect and have contempt for the public by continuing to bring these ordinances forward that no one knows what you're talking about and what it applies to.
Next speaker.
Good morning, Council. Felicia Austin Singleton. Okay. When you're saying vacant land and you have a construction site that was built or started to being built in 2017 and to this day is not even completed, isn't that still vacant? A shell of a building? You have sat here and amended the amendment to the amendment to amend another part of the amendment, and y'all don't even know which part we're talking about at this point. You sit here and think you're creating legislation. Create the legislation that needs to be done. Create the inclusionary zoning for these vacant lots. They on-site dig. Let's get to that, right? Councilman Gonzalez. Breaking of ground automatically is supposed to have 20%. These vacant lots should be contracted under that. The IZO said once you start and break ground, is already guaranteed 20% set aside, but you could set the bar higher if you want. At the end of the day, no one is following the rules, but you want the residents to follow the rules. Rules were made so that we can go by law. Vacant lots is not just a piece of parcel that's standing there with dirt or grass on it. Vacant lots are them just deplorable houses that you have sitting up there saying you got affordable housing in the city. Room is filled with a whole bunch of developers and lawyers today waiting for these tax abatements, but I don't see none of them setting aside 70% set aside with a 30 to 40% of the AMI. Why are they here? Their concern is not the city of Newark. Their concern is to get anything that you give them and get the vacant piece of land that y'all trying to give them so that they can make money. It's not better for the citizens of Newark. Nothing they don't even give back to the citizens of Newark. And yet and still you'll all say yes. Say no. Say abstain until they come to the table and bring something that's better. Our city government does not help developers. It's to hear the residents, for us to have a seat at the table, and for them to explain what's going on. They guaranteeing up in here, see if you pass some vacant lots. Nobody's stupid. I'm gonna take a picture of everybody in here, and I'm gonna send it over to, you know who.
Next speaker.
Good morning, Council President. I'm a little confused right now because of a statement that you made concerning these ordinances. On the last meeting, and I also posted your comment about these ordinances not being in play anymore because they were written before you got elected and some of the other council people got elected. So this ordinance that you're talking about right now has to do with the same ordinance that you said is not in play anymore. We're talking about land sales. It falls under the First Source Linkage Program, which was written in the year 2000, before you became a council person. It's still in place. It still has to do with economic incentives. On page 3, it talks about 1, tax abatements, 2, federal and state or municipal grants or loans, 3, city property which is coveted at a private sale, city contracts for services. Madam President, these laws are still in place. Everything you do falls under these laws unless there's been an amendment. There has not been any amendment to these laws when it comes to the Newark Employment Commission, which you said was no longer in play. And I would like you to respond to that, to what did you mean when you said that these laws are no longer in play? So until we get a clear understanding of how this government is functioning under these economic incentives, we should not be giving economic incentives. Even this land sale falls under economic incentives. If you don't know the legislation, I encourage you, I submitted it to the council. It is a part of our laws. It is in play, Madam President. The Newark Resident Employment Policy, it's in play, Madam President. It needs to be enforced. It also applies to the use of these sales, economic incentives. So I would like to know which part of this ordinance is not in play. Can you please answer that at the end of this, since you commented on me when I came to this mic before? So could you please let the public know what you meant by these laws no longer being in play? Thank you very much.
Next speaker. Seeing no other speakers, public speaking is now closed. Mr. Tillman, in reference to what you're talking about, we're not talking about that on this item. We're on 6P SFA that has nothing to do with what you're talking about. I just want to tell folks for the rest of the public hearings or the second readings, final passage, we're on the items of this agenda where you talk about the items on the agenda specifically for those items. There's an opportunity, as it is at every meeting. We just had this same discussion on Wednesday, when you can talk about what you would like to talk about on public comment. We have that opportunity for you here today as well. Everyone who is here is free to come up and speak about that, but we're talking about these items on second readings and final passages, which these vacant lot registrations have nothing to do with what you talked about, Mr. Tillman. So with that being said, roll call.
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree.
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President McIver.
Yes.
6P SFBS is an ordinance granting a 25-year tax abatement to ADL 605-607 Broad Urban Renewal LLC for a project to construct 84 residential rental units consisting of 71 market rate residential rental units, 13 affordable housing rental units in the Central Ward. Is there anyone present wishing to be heard on this ordinance?
Good morning, Madam President. Again, economic incentives do apply to what I spoke of. As I said to you, if you don't know the ordinance, if you don't understand the legislation, it's up for you to go and look at the ordinance and the legislation. We were talking about land sales. When you're talking about land sales, it falls on the economic incentive. You said that it doesn't apply, these laws don't apply no more, and it has to do with
Mr.
economic
Tillman, we're
incentives.
talking about tax
I'm
abatements.
talking about
This
the tax abatement.
This tax abatement.
You're disrupting me. I have
Please
3
talk to the
minutes.
ordinance.
I'm
Please
speaking
talk to the ordinance.
You're disrupting me, Madam President.
Please
I'm
talk to
speak-
the ordinance.
I'm speaking to the ordinance. I'm speaking to the ordinance because the ordinance, it applies to the law. My disagreement with the ordinance has to do with you not applying or being in compliance with the law. I have a right to come here and to speak of the ordinance when the law applies to the ordinance. So how is it that I'm not speaking to the ordinance, Madam President? Again, I disagree with any tax abatement, any land sale, any government contract that falls under economic incentives. These laws are in place. Whether you choose to abide by them or not, when a citizen comes up here and discusses these laws, it's up to you to do your due diligence to go look at the law and see if the administration is in compliance with it. You spoke out on behalf of the administration when I asked that question of the administration. You're the one that said that these laws are no longer in place. The administration didn't even say that. When I spoke with the business administrator to discuss these ordinances, he said that Newark Employment Commission was going to be put in place, enacted. It was going to be a matter of time that the administration, we sat down and some things that we were going to discuss to make sure that this ordinance that was written in 2000 before you was elected is enforced. So again, I disagree with any tax abatement, any use of economic incentives that this administration or this government is doing until this commission that oversees all of these economic incentives are in place, including the Newark Employment Commission, which Council President said is not in play. And we know it's not in play, but it's according to the law, it should be in play. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Fully Shawson Singleton. So right now, we're violating our tax abatement ordinance, and we're violating the inclusionary zoning ordinance. The inclusionary zoning said 20% set aside, 20%. 10% of 84 is what? 8. So 20% would be 16. Who can't count up in here? And we can't do +5, you add one more because it's 4. So where's the 16 apartments? They're not in compliance with the inclusionary zoning. How can you let them get a tax abatement? Where are the laborers that's on that project? Where is the compliance fully coded for the Newark residents? Where's the presentation from this developer before we got up here to say why they were doing this? Now you want a tax abatement because it's sitting over there down by the housing authority. Griffith Building. Are you kidding me? If you vote on this, you will actually violate your own compliance law under the tax abatement, but also your inclusionary zoning. What is going on here? Did any of you miss civics classes? It teaches you how to construct government. It teaches you how to obey the laws. The very laws you set in place. You're not even governing and answering them to what it is. Oh, now you want to throw 40% in there? That's good. I'll give you that. That's good. But the numbers don't add up. Can a developer tell us why the numbers aren't adding up? Where's their presentation? Why isn't the developer coming here to explain why we're getting cut on the inclusionary zoning? New Jersey Supreme Court in 2018 put it in and mandated every city in the state of New Jersey to give their fair share of affordable housing. The least would be 20%. At the end of the day, we are the largest city in the state, and we should be going at least 50 to 60 to 70% set aside, with our area median income being 30 to 40%. And I don't know what Allison Ladd was up here talking, or what Ms. McIver wanted to say about it, because that's not true. Google New Jersey Supreme Court decision on the Mount Laurel Doctrine.
Next speaker.
Lisa Parker, once again, you're using affordability in a way that looks like and sounds like it's benefiting the residents when it isn't. Because if you don't make between $87,000 and $120,000 a year, it is not affordable. You have municipal workers relying on housing vouchers just to supplement to pay their rent. You have all of these developers coming here, not paying their fair share when they don't give 10% or 20% to low to moderate income to pay into a housing trust fund. We have had no accountability for all of these developers that didn't comply with that. You have the Halo building on Washington Street that you gave a 25-year tax abatement to, that one, didn't have a project labor agreement to hire union workers for a living wage and benefits, health benefits. You also have the people that are suing them because they didn't pay their vendors, the plumbers. They didn't have enough money to complete their project. But you didn't rescind the 25-year tax abatement you gave to them, while they owe you in 2023 and 2024 $18,000 in taxes, just land. You ain't even charging them assessment, and $24,000 for this year. And yet you turn it around and giving property owners like me a 3.9% tax increase with no justification, nor representation from any of you in this administration. And next year, you'll be giving us a revaluation to up our taxes again. What benefit is it that these developers can come here, not live up to the compliance ordinances that you have on the book? And Halo is a classic example of that. You should have never let them do construction without a project labor agreement. They aren't even paying assessment taxes. They're only paying land taxes. So explain to us why you continue to give outsiders, because let's talk about that. I'm a native New Yorker. You'll always blame New Yorkers for coming here, taking over the land, but you're not talking about the people that you're selling land to from Lakewood, from Israel, from other parts of the state. Why are they benefiting? And the people that developed and created these communities, you're pricing us out.
Next speaker. Next speaker. Seeing no other speakers, public speaking is now closed. Any comments from of council members? Any responses from administration? All right, seeing none, roll call.
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree,
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President McIver.
Yes.
6PSFCS is an ordinance granting a 30-year tax abatement to WTJV Urban Renewal LLC for a project to significantly rehabilitate an existing 17-story apartment building consisting of 279 affordable housing rental units for senior citizens in the North Ward, sponsored by Councilman Ramos, second by Councilman Gonzalez. Is there anyone present wishing to be heard on this ordinance?
Before we have public speaking, I believe there's a comment from the business administrator.
Okay, I'll try. Good morning, Council President, Council members. Eric Pennington, Business Administrator. With respect to the application in front of the Council today, I know there were some prior questions raised about the precedent-setting nature of this particular tax abatement. I just want to clarify, this is not precedent-setting in that we have done other retroactive tax abatements in the past, and we are likely to see another one in the near future. One of the prior tax abatements that was approved by this council that was retroactive was for the FBI building, and Claremont was the developer. It is highly likely that they're going to come back again and have some retroactivity embedded in that particular tax abatement request because they've already started the process. And it is likely that the administration will support it and hopefully the council will approve it. The administration supports this particular tax abatement for several reasons, not the least of which is it's a 100 affordable senior project in the North Ward. And we want to make sure that there are adequate accommodations for our senior citizens throughout the city, including on Mount Prospect Avenue. This particular project will benefit from the tax abatement because there will be a significant rehab, which has been on the books for, on the planning stage now for several years. I bring up the fact that it's been on the planning stage for several years because the request for this tax abatement was timely, but because of several issues with COVID, post-COVID, and with the administration, quite frankly, it took a while for this matter to get moved forward. I think that those facts ought to be known to you when you vote for this project. The administration supports it, and we encourage you to vote in favor of it. If there are additional questions with respect to that I can answer, I'm happy to do so.
Okay. Any comments or questions from council members? Seeing none? Thank you, Ms. BA. Public comment?
Good morning, Council. Felicia Austin Singleton. So I just want to read something to you real quick. It says, this is the third tax abatement that has been terminated for non-compliance under the Phillips administration, furthering the mayor's effort to reform the payment in lieu of tax pilot program to establish a greater transparency, more widespread development, localized employment opportunities, and to prioritize residents over developers. Residents over developers. You never prioritize within the last, let's just say 8 years, you never prioritize the residents of the city who vote you in over a developer. You want to amend an amendment to amend the amendment to amend the amendment, and sometimes I think you all forget what's the amendment. When you have developers that cannot even come and do a presentation, and I'm not talking about a presentation to the council or to your tax abatement committee, I'm talking about to the residents of the city of Newark. Transparency. What will we get out of that? 100 affordable seniors apartments, when you guys sit up there and if the seniors don't do what you say, you want to evict them around election time? Let's talk now. Oh, we're going to make it 100 affordable for seniors. When you badger the seniors at election time and tell them that they will be removed from their apartments if they don't vote for you. What's so good about that? Collaboration of residents, localized employment. Mayor, isn't Stephen Fulop your friend? Take some notes from him, brother. You have the power. You could cancel a tax abatement at any given time. And not only Gonzalez has something to say, Roundtree, you have something to say, Quintana, you have something to say, and Crump, you have something to say too. On every project that goes across this board, you are many mayors. You can go into any ward you want. And we need your voice to be heard because the only voice we hear up there in every ward is Louis. You don't have to wait on the current council that's at seat. You can come and make a decision. It's in a tax abatement. You get Gonzalez to come sit with this man because what he's speaking is facts. Because I read it. Next speaker.
Lisa Parker, let's have full transparency about what this is because the business administrator never articulated it here. What you're about to do is give somebody a retroactive tax abatement that owes the city $1.5 million in taxes that they have not paid. The same entity went to the county and lied about the tax abatement that they had and got rejected. The same entity received 50 years worth of tax abatement and still had the seniors living in deplorable conditions. So let's talk about what this really is. You are rewarding somebody, giving them a retroactive tax abatement that was a bad actor and treated our seniors deplorably. Now they're using the excuse, oh, we want to rehab the building, and if you give us this, we'll pay you $440,000, not the $1.5 million that they owe. And let's go even deeper. These developers fund your campaigns, they fund your events for you to give them perks and tax abatements. What about University Estates Homeowners Association, whose tax abatement expired? I didn't see y'all up here doing any type of wrangling, legislation, or anything for the people who live here that are now retired, that are struggling to offset these tax abatements that you're imposing upon the working class families. But because the developer and the owners of these properties fund your campaigns, your parties, your events, and not have responsibility to pay their debt, And yet, you turn around for property owners like me and everybody else out here, you seizing out properties in tax liens. But you're not enforcing the law against the developer, but rather giving them perks. Then you have the nerve to have the seniors come up here to support this, thinking that if they don't support it, they're not gonna have a place to live. How dare you? They supposed to pay their fair share like you demand all the residents to pay their fair share. You should not be giving them a retroactive tax abatement, 1.5 million that they owe. Make them pay their fair share and give the residents whose tax abatement expired, give them a perk.
Next speaker.
George Stillman, Madam President. This is why it's so important that we have the Newark Employment Commission to be enacted, to be in place, and for us not to say that these laws are not in play. This developer owes the city $1.5 million. Now, at the end of this whole hearing, whatever, the business administrator is gonna come up here and say that number has been adjusted. Even if it's been adjusted to 400,000, 500,000, Newark residents didn't get that relief. See, there's a different standard, and I want the Newark residents to see it when y'all vote on this. I hope you do say yes all the way across the board, so they can see exactly who you are. See who gets the relief and who doesn't get the relief. Because Newark residents' water was shut off, homes were taken, licenses are being suspended, all sorts of taxation being done to Newark residents without no representation. So today we want to see our representation. We're putting you to the test today. We want to see what this $1.5 million mean to you. Is that more important to you than Newark residents? Because we want that same relief. Because if you do grant this $1.5 million tax abatement, or this tax abatement, them owing $1.5 million, trust and believe, we're gonna come in here and demand that you give us the same relief, $1.5 million a piece. Because we deserve the same relief that you're giving them. Because you represent us, not them. Because I'm not understanding what's going on. Because anytime I owe something, my lights got turned off, my water got turned off. If I didn't pay my rent, I got evicted or got some sort of letter about my eviction. We come here, these developers get carte blanche. That developer got almost 60 years of an abatement. He got 2 extensions. He got his county and school tax paid by the city. That's what a part of that $1.5 million. Am I right, Councilman? I don't know why you're not speaking this time, but the reason why this information came was because of you. I would have never known about this $1.5 million. I thank you for that. I thank you for exposing this administration for what it's doing, but stay on them. I'm with you. That's why we here right now. Keep that same energy, because I'm gonna keep the same energy until Newark residents are working, until we're benefiting from these economic incentives that you continue to give out. But go ahead, vote. Let's see what you do with this $1.5 million that this developer owes, and see what relief we get in response. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Good morning. Sajaya Tillman.
Pull the mic down. There you go.
These tax abatements are for Newark residents. And when you talk about Newark residents, you're also talking about the youth. I'm 16. In 30 years, I'll be 46. So if we're not benefiting from these tax abatements now, 30 years from now, it'll still be poverty. It still will be kids not working. It still will be parents not working. and this city would still be poor. A tax abatement is a tax break for these large businesses to hire Newark residents to work, but we're not working or benefiting. And every year, the amount of kids working is decreasing. It's not increasing. And every year and every day is the same kid still standing outside of ShopRite. When I came here the last time, and I spoke about not getting paid for 4 weeks, they started throwing a card and number, like just a number at me. And they said a check was cashed with my name on it. And I never got a check, and I never cashed it. So I wonder how many other kids got a check that didn't get paid for 4 weeks or 2 weeks or whenever they didn't get paid, but a check was cashed. So I want to know what's going on. Like, where are these kids' money going, and why aren't we getting paid? But you're trying to give us tax abatements. Like, I don't understand, but we're not benefiting. People are starving, like suffering, not working, and you're still trying to pass this tax abatement. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Donna Jackson, the children will rise up with this madness you have caused in this city. It's pure madness. How many houses has the city taken during COVID to now for non-payment of taxes while you sat there with accelerated tax sale and put these people out of their homes? How many seniors didn't even understand the game that you were playing? You're not giving the seniors no relief. If you had a heart, if you cared, every senior in this city would have a tax abatement. Not Big Boy, not LLC, not Fund My Campaign. The audacity. I want to know how much they owe in water. Because see, we're only talking about taxes today. So I know there's other bills at the city that they have not paid. How many of their trucks was parked out there that got tickets that they didn't pay? All your boys. How the Halo building not paying no taxes? And y'all sitting here all right with that. You played the game, you shut off 50 buildings' water because they hadn't had the water bill paid. The people got smart, the people got energized, called down to the state. The state had to come in here and tell Raz, what the hell are you doing? And that's what the governor told them. Y'all keep putting us in the way of your nonsense. That's why we say you don't care, because we know you don't. So stop saying it. Stop getting your panties in a bunch when we say it, because we know your actions speak louder than any word. 2.6 million they owe, not 1.5. They ain't paid the county tax, school tax, and I'm sure they haven't paid water. You let a Newark resident not pay their water bill, y'all right out there, oh, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. People coming down here with their last $100, $200, attempting to make water payment agreements. Came down here and attempted to negotiate their taxes on their property, and you didn't let them. You didn't let them. You haven't done a tax amnesty program in this city or a water amnesty program in this city for the homeowners. Ain't nobody talking about Mr. Moneybucks here and all the other ones you got. You do have an upcoming, thank you, Mr. Pennington. You do have an upcoming another waiver that you want to do. For what? You keep giving people that got the money the breaks. What about us? What about the people? You got the union down here today. Took them long enough. Took them long enough. Yeah, I said it. Long enough. They've been out of work forever. All this building in this city. And people working on these sites don't even look like us. How's the Halo building bankrupt? How much campaign money did they give y'all? What, everybody got 5 million apiece? What, Raz got 15? And that's why it's nothing left? Y'all have to be held accountable for this nonsense. And you're going to go up to $95 on a parking ticket. I wish I would lock somebody up, suspend the license while y'all did that.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Next speaker.
Manera El Bumani. All I could just say. Seniors, homeowners, Newarkers, aren't you sick and tired of being hoodwinked and bamboozled by black faces in high places that ain't doing anything for you? Are you sick and tired? Newarkers, seniors, and homeowners, you should be outraged. You should be filling up these seats from top to bottom, outside, downstairs on the second floor. We on the second floor. Wrap your arms around his office and demanding an independent monitor over our tax abatement program. All the seniors in this city, the buildings, we've been coming up here about all the buildings that, you know, they get tax abatements. We got buildings throughout this whole city that we done wrapped our arms, we done rallied around. You gave tax abatements, and none of them are in compliance of the tax abatement ordinance. This clearly shows you that these individuals are not working for you. It clearly shows you that you got failed leadership, no other way to describe them. It's all about the cha-ching, cha-ching. It's all about the developers paying money into their fund campaigns and them giving them their benefits. Now, if you allow a $1.5 million debt to be burdened on your backs, then you got to be out of your mind, seniors, to allow this. This is unacceptable. I don't know what she's talking about in terms of ordinance don't apply, but what ordinance do apply? Where's the 51% of the jobs that's supposed to go to the Newarkers of the city? What happened to the project labor agreement? What happened to the housing? Why are you giving our money that is paid into a fund to reorganize what's the new thing that Brick City Corporation? Invest in Newark. You gave $3.5 million that's supposed to go back into the community to reorganize Invest in Newark. When is you going to get back to the city?
Thank you.
And the residents of this?
Next speaker. Next speaker. Seeing none, public speaking is now closed. Any responses from council? Councilman Crum.
Thank you, Council President. So the last time I was here for a vote for this matter, I abstained. And the reason I abstained is because of because I felt like I needed more information to make an intelligent decision on this matter. What I have done now is I've met with the deputy mayor, had the opportunity to go over it in depth and detail and ask questions that I believe were important to be answered. I believe that at this point, with everything that's happened between, and let's be very honest, and as I think the BA said, there have been issues on both sides as to why this tax abatement did not happen years ago as it maybe should have happened. But what I'm saying now is, and I want to use the phrase that was just used, and I believe this is important, is residents over developers. And I think in this case, we are doing, by voting for this matter, we are voting for residents over developers, because at the end of the day, it's going to put seniors in a position, in a much better position. And we always talk about our seniors and their lives and their condition of what they're living in. And what this will do is will enhance their condition in their lives. You know, I believe 150% that Councilman Ramos and the administration is going to keep the developers' feet to the fire on this matter and make sure that it is done, because we're not going to come back here for another issue like this. But, you know, I believe when the city makes a mistake, we need to fix it. And I believe in this case, this is, well, when the city does make mistakes, and we all make mistakes, we need to fix it. And I think this fixes this matter And I think also we can't just say this is a one-off. This is something that, and I agree with some of the speakers out there. We have to look at other matters going forward. There are other issues that may arise that we need to address in a similar fashion, whether it's what Ms. Parker was mentioning, the location, and, or others. And so I'm in support of this at this point. And I'll say this, I'm reluctantly in, because as much as we may want to discipline, we have to also think about our residents. And these are our senior residents. And you know, I'm part of the senior committee dealing with seniors on a regular basis. I believe at this point, we must move forward, and I am supporting this matter.
Thank you, Councilman Crump. Any other comments from council members?
Yeah, Council.
Councilman, council?
Yeah, I just wanted to first say a couple of things, because one of the speakers insinuated that we threaten seniors to vote or kick them out, and I don't definitely don't want to be on the record as being somebody who threatens seniors when I'm an ardent supporter of seniors and have worked with seniors for the last 14, 15 years to organize, to provide programs, to monitor and check on them during the height of COVID. And so I don't want any senior in the city to believe that there is some adversarial thing against them. Second, to Mr. Tillman, I absolutely agree with everybody exercising their right of democracy and being able to locate, discover, and find information. I think that's valuable. I think that for you to say that is what I pointed out, that is what people elected me to do. Right, point out information, bring up tough conversations, and be able to get to the table and resolve this stuff, and make sure that as a city that we're going to move in the right direction, to be prudent and diligent in what we do, and hold all of our feet to the fire, as many of you do when you come up to speak and give information. But we want to make sure that everything that we're doing is moving in the direction of helping to grow this city. And provide individuals with living opportunities. And, you know, I'm quite sure that this is not the end of the situation. And it's definitely not the end of me gathering information and holding people's feet to the fire to make sure that situations are looked at, changed, and brought up. And so I'm proud that I was able to do that and bring light to this situation, to the residents of the city, to our council people, to our administration, so that they can dig their hands in the mud. And be able to figure out how we get through all of this stuff together as residents in the city, because it's going to take all of us, you know, ultimately. And even these individuals who are moving forward, we still have an obligation to go in and make sure that whatever work is said to be done, it is done. And if not, we have that same opportunity to come back and voice democracy again, you know. And I say that because, again, you know, Donna made a comment about, you know, folks turning off the water, when all around this city, many of these owners of these buildings, which is a fact, believe that they don't have to pay water bills because the city will never turn off water on their residents. And so in the height of what they do is they accumulate massive, massive water bills. And so I'm not in disagreement of what Director Adeem did, but I do want all of us to continue to hold all of these people accountable. When we go to these buildings, when we're Facebooking, when we're challenging these people to pay what they owe the city for the betterment of our residents across the board. You know, so I just wanted to, you know, make that clear today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from council members? Councilman Ramos.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I just want to start off by saying that, you know, I do appreciate and respect, you know, the dialogue around this extension of the abatement. I think it's healthy. I think it's important for the public to be well aware of items that we're voting on. I also think it's unfortunate that the council's put in a position years after the developer filed a tax abatement application to approve abatement for a building that provides 100% affordability for seniors. We recognize that in the city, senior housing is at a premium, especially affordable senior housing. To depict this building as having seniors living in deplorable conditions is not knowing Wesley Towers. It probably has one of the largest waiting lists for seniors to get apartments there because of the affordability and the quality of life. And at the same time, it doesn't tell us the fact that this building is in need of investment. You know, there are water leaks, the units are outdated, there are a whole host of issues that the seniors in that building, despite the fact that they're paying affordable rents, you know, they deserve a high quality of life. And I believe that the action that this council is taking here today will result in those improvements that that building desperately needs. And I agree, we have to hold the developer accountable as part of their commitment to getting the rehab work done. And I'm hopeful that the city, through its monitoring process, ensures that as they hire contractors to rehab units, that we have representatives from organized labor, that we have Norkers who are participating in the renovation of that building. And the last thing I'll say is that we vote on tax abatements here at every council meeting for market rate projects without the blink of an eye. And the fact that we provided the level of scrutiny for 100% affordable senior building, I'm hopeful that we start looking at every abatement with the same tight lens moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Ramos. Councilman Kelly?
Thank you, Madam President. I too also want to just say, I want to thank my council colleagues. And the reason why I want to thank them, I want to thank Patrick Councilman Council. I want to thank Councilman Ramos, because when you cause a conversation that's tough like this, it makes you take a deep dive in what's really needed for this city and what the facts are. And we took a deep dive as a council. I know I did, because on one hand, if somebody owes this city money, we want to be paid our money. But then on another hand, depending on whose fault it was and how the issues arise, we cannot blame senior citizens. You know, we always have to make sure, that's how I was taught, that we have to make sure that we protect our seniors. And, you know, if we take this away, then the seniors lose. Even though, you know, in a lot of senses, in a lot of instances, yeah, it's right that we are owed this money, but we have to be mindful of the seniors. And that's my view on it now, is that I will be going with the seniors over the developers in this instance right here.
Thank you, Councilman Kelly. Any other comments, Councilwoman Scott Roundtree?
Thank you, Council President. Going forward, as Councilman Kelly, Councilman Crump, I too did a very in-depth investigation. I hope going forward, when it is the fault of another party, that we look just as close as we did to this for the future of not just our seniors, but all of our residents. I do know that this project started, or this abatement request was made quite a few years ago, and the ball was dropped, and both parties, I should say, on the administration side, on the developer side, there was an issue. But once you have all of the details and you put everything out, so while people are investigating, please investigate the whole story and not your portion of the story. But going forward, I just want to be on record stating that for every project that there's a developer, that there is an issue with, whether it's the developer or the resident, that we err on the side of making sure that our residents, I thank Councilman Council for the information that he shared with us, but I do understand the in-depth of the entire process that took place beginning back in 2021. So I just thank you once again, and prayerfully, this is the seniors over the developers in this case. And across the city, we have seniors that we have to pay close attention to, and projects close attention to, and residents close attention to make sure that this isn't a one-shot deal, that we will go forward paying very close attention. And developers, we are going to hold you accountable. So in this instance, where we are supporting, or whoever's supporting this particular ordinance or this abatement, trust and believe one phone call will make a difference. So thank you very much, Council President, for allowing me to make those remarks.
Thank you, Councilwoman Scott Roundtree. Any other comments from council members? All right, seeing none, any responses from the administration? Okay, roll call.
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gonzalez. Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
President McIver.
Yes.
6P SFDS is an ordinance amending traffic by adding the west side of Fabian Place between Nye and Lyons Avenue and the east side of Fabian Place between Shaw Avenue and Lyons Avenue in the South Ward, sponsored by Councilman Council, second by Councilman Kelly. Is there anyone present wishing to be heard on this ordinance?
Good morning again. Just a question, because I know recently you guys changed the street sweeping at the lower end of the West Ward and gave out no notification. So first and foremost, have these residents in the entire area that this is going to affect been notified? I know it's a serious parking jam, and I understand why you're removing the parking on one side, but have you notified those residents? Have there been a community meeting up there to discuss this, the changes? I mean, I know you're the legislators, but you guys just do stuff on the whim without talking to people. I haven't heard any buzz coming out of that area, and I know that's going to be a parking nightmare as it has become across this whole city if you now tell people they can't park on Fabian Place. The people who own, the new people who have bought there, and the residents that live there. We are no longer living, me and my daughter here in the same house. It's me, my daughter, Jahad, Lisa, and Felicia all in the house, and there's 4 cars there for 1 apartment. Are we making allowances for this? As you continue to keep building and letting people rehab, and I want it done. Trust me, these abandoned houses are killing us, but you guys are not taking into account what it's causing. This city is dangerous. This city is dark. Nobody wants to park on Hawthorne Avenue and Leslie and walk all the way up to Fabian Place to go to their house because that's where they're going to have to park. So if you think this is going to alleviate something on Nye Avenue and something on Fabian Place, this is going to do nothing but push out to the other areas. So you already got homeowners, you already have residents who can't park across the city. Parking is an issue. But as we continue to build, you guys are not doing traffic planning. You're not. You're not doing traffic planning at all. That traffic around 78, that traffic coming off of Lyons, off the Lyons Avenue exit, going on the Chancellor and Lyons, that is crazy. Y'all got to do better. I know we don't have the people we need going out, uniform construction code, watching this, that, traffic studies. We're not doing that. You got to start doing that. And you have to start talking to the people that live here instead of waiting for the backlash after. How about we do some pre-planning? And I just want to say one last thing. Because the owner doesn't get a tax abatement does not forgive them of doing the necessary repairs. And what y'all just said was they ain't got to fix nothing till you give them a favor.
Next speaker.
Ditto, Donna, because I was gonna, Felicia also Singleton, I was gonna come up here and say, when did you conduct a traffic study? And how much will the fees be? That, is it changing to the 95 or is it gonna stay to 55? Also in your ordinance, it say 2,000. This was changed in 2022 and then again in 2023. So what part is still 2,000? It says on the ordinance. What part are we actually talking about? The description is, I shouldn't have to go on the website to find the whole thing, put it in the agenda. Let me say this, the ADA, you're not giving anything for the visually impaired, which I'm visually impaired at this moment in time. And you're not giving any sign language or interpreters in here to view documents online and to see what they need to see. You want us to come comment on the ordinance, then let me see what you're talking about. You don't even have a booklet or a pamphlet out there. But yet again, when did engineering do a traffic study? When did engineering, because they have to do them for the planning and zoning boards, when did they do one? And why wasn't it bought before here? You're gonna have a lot of people that's still parking over there, and I guess you're gonna give them 55 or maybe 95. Y'all probably jack that price up too. Y'all need to learn that everything you do in this city, because my kids are some of you folks' age up there, you're treating it to your kids when they come back to Newark, they will not be able to afford it. Your grandkids, our grandkids, won't be able to afford it. Are you really trying to create a legacy that your people can look back on and say, this is what my people did? And yes, you did, Pat, throw people out of the housing authority and threaten them during election time. I didn't say you personally, but this administration has. And I will continue to put it on record. You know better.
Next speaker on 6PSFD.
Good afternoon, or good morning. George Tillman. So, I'm going to take a moment to gather myself and my thoughts, because we all matter. We all Newark residents, we all matter. To say that you're doing this because of the scenes as though we don't matter. Because people lost their homes with babies in them, with seniors in them too. I saw no compassion for those Newark residents and those families who lost their homes.
Mr. Tillman, we're talking
and
about
did
the
not
traffic
get any
item.
relief. I did not see any of that.
Mr. Tillman, we're talking about the traffic item.
I don't like this traffic item. I'm going to continue to talk about the traffic item too. I don't like that these laws were written in 2000 and they're not in any play anymore. I don't even know if it's going to be enforced. I don't know, because these developers, they owe over $45 million already. But we're going to continue to trust that they're going to do the right thing and say that we're doing it because of the seniors and that it's the world.
Mr. Tillman, we're
the
talking
sky
about the
is falling.
traffic item,
The sky is
Mr.
falling.
Tillman.
The sky is falling.
Mr. Tillman, we're talking
The
about the
sky is
traffic
not
item.
falling. So forgive me if I don't understand why Newark residents don't matter. We work and not matter. My daughter is the future. We're talking about seniors. Yes, we love them. But we're talking about the future. You want to keep these children in poverty. You want to keep these families in poverty. You want to keep imposing this taxation on our people and think that it has no emotional effect on us. So sometimes you have to come to this mic and just be silent and let people feel, understand.
Next speaker. Next speaker regarding this item. We're on 6PSFD, as in dog. Seeing none, public speaking is now closed. Any comments from council members?
Yes.
Councilman Council.
Just a quick comment, Chair. To Ms. Jackson's point, there is a study that was done, and this is the first part of a larger plan on the Fabian Street area. We've been up there extensively, meeting with the residents. They've been having a lot of issues with trucks hitting their cars. They've been parking on the sidewalk. We've been having a lot of conversation around that. And so this is the first part of it to identify that. We've also put in information with the DOT to put signs on 78 to indicate that trucks should remain on the Lyons Avenue side and not enter off on Fabian, as they try to use that as a cutoff point to get to Irvington and Nye a lot quicker. And so there are a lot of things that we're working on with the Department of Engineering. I thank them for this, and we'll continue to meet with the residents in that area as we continue to work through all of these issues. But this is the first in trying to provide relief for the residents in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Council. Any other comments? Seeing none, any comments from the administration? All right, seeing none, can I have a roll call for 6PSFD?
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Abstain.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree.
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President McIver.
Yes.
6PSFES is an ordinance amending traffic multi-way stop intersections by designating 14th Avenue and South 6th Street as a multi-way stop sign intersection in the West Ward, sponsored by Councilman Kelly, second by Councilman Council. Is there anyone present wishing to be heard on this ordinance?
Any public speaker on this item? Seeing none, public speaking is now closed. Roll call?
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree,
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
President McIver.
Yes.
Resolutions. 7R1AS through 7R1CS are all resolutions from the Department of Administration. A is a co-op to purchase wheel loaders for sanitation. B is a co-op to purchase computer equipment. And C is an application acceptance of grant funds from New Jersey Forest Service. Council as a whole to adopt.
Roll call?
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
President McIver.
Yes.
7R2AS is the land bank to authorize Invest Newark to acquire, maintain, and dispose of certain city-owned properties.
Madam President.
Yesterday, there was some discussion. I know council members have multiple questions, so we'll just follow up on that to make sure we have all the information that we have, or if there are any additional questions or comments. Councilman Ramos?
Yeah, I have a number of questions. I looked at the backup. There was no conversation regarding some of the properties that the administration selected as part of the transfer to Invest Newark. My understanding when the land bank was established was that one of the goals was to move some of the properties that are kind of been sitting in the city inventory for a long period of time that the city has not been able to either transact through an auction or LOIs. There are a number of properties in the North Ward that are included that are highly marketable properties that if the city were to sell the properties, they wouldn't have any issues, identifying potential developers, and at the same time, making sure that if those properties were developed, that the city would keep the ratables as opposed to having Invest Newark keep the ratables for an extended period of time. And then some of the properties in the North Ward are identified as rear properties to a particular address. So I don't know if the administration could explain some of the technicalities that are included in the list. Are these undersized lots that the city is looking to transfer to Invest Newark? Who would have rights to some of these lots that are identified as rear or side lots? Are they developable lots? So I just have a bunch of questions.
Duly noted, Councilman Ramos. Director Randolph, you can come on up with Deputy Mayor Ladd. We'll also take some additional questions and comments from other council members. Any other comments? Councilman Crump?
Thank you, Council President. Just a question regarding, and I think Councilman Ramos touched on it, is the unbuildable, undersized lots. I know in reading the information that you sent, and thank you for that information, that, for instance, in the first tranche, it's 31 of them are unbuildable or undersized lots, but only 8 have future sales development. What is the plan for these unbuildable, undersized lots?
Sure.
Members, Councilman Crump, I'll answer that one first. That's a little easier. So yeah, all those lots that we called unbuildable, they're too small to build a house on them. They're less than 2,500 square feet. So what we try to do is sell those lots to someone who owns a property that's adjacent to it. So we try to get the homeowner next to it to purchase the lot. What we don't want to have is someone who, say, lives across the street or down the block, decide that they can get this lot and park their car there. That doesn't seem right. So we try to sell those. They are a little tough to move. You know, sometimes the people who live adjacent just simply don't want them. They can't afford them. There's, you know, some costs associated with it. But yeah, that is the situation. So they take a little time to move through. And then Councilman Ramos, yes, those rear lots are similar to that's what we call the side lots, but they're generally unbuildable. You know, over years, lots get chopped up. Sometimes they're behind a row of houses, one house. You can't do much with it. Some of them you might be able to do some parking, but similarly, they're not big enough to build any structures on them.
Madam
So
President.
I just want to say, I think for this particular item, just in the sake of time, I think one, we should defer this today. And I think that you and your team should schedule meetings with the specific ward council people and any at-large council people too, who want to have more information on these items and talk about the specific properties and their wards and what the intent is, going through them one by one. And this type of dialogue is just honestly kind of unfair to council members to be able to digest that, especially for some of the properties that are within their wards that they've been dealing with certain properties for quite some time and know them, you know, like the back of their hand. So I think that's what should happen prior to it bringing it to this full body to digest a list of properties. I think that gives the council also too some opportunities to discuss further what was discussed yesterday at our budget hearing about properties, you know, what some status has been with you all, try to help council members understand more about the bidding process, all of that stuff that, you know, we kind of really haven't touched on prior to us introducing the land bank. So that's really what happened, because we can't do it here. Like, we can't have a presentation and go one by one with each council member about it. So that is what I recommend, not unless another council member has a different perspective or, you know, wants to entertain a different model.
Second.
Okay, so we're going to defer this item, and then you can reach back out, make sure you reach back out to each ward council person really, and follow up with them.
We can absolutely do that. Thank you.
Okay. Roll call to defer, second by Councilman Kelly.
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree.
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President MacIver.
Yes, to defer.
7R8AS is waiving special event application permit fees, for the Tillinghast Block Party sponsored by Councilman Council.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Kelly. Roll call.
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree,
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President MacIver.
Yes.
Communications, item 8AS is an ordinance adopting the Sixth Amendment to Newark's River Public Access and Redevelopment Plan.
Okay, any questions or comments from council members regarding this item? Seeing none, roll call.
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree,
Yes.
Silva,
Yes. Council President, I'd
President
like to
MacIver.
advance and adopt on this, please. Move forward.
So we're in the middle of a roll call. Madam Clerk?
Yes, there's a motion to advance and adopt on first, sponsored by Councilman Silva.
Okay, do we want to redo the roll call? Is that proper?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry?
Motion to reconsider.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. What's the proper way? So it would be a motion to reconsider because we're in the middle of a roll call.
My apologies.
I'm sorry. I'm just making sure.
Yes, motion to reconsider.
Okay, motion to reconsider. Roll call?
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree,
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President McIver.
Yes. Okay, we
Item-
good?
Yes.
Okay. One of them, just double checking.
Understood, and much appreciated. Item 8BS is an
Excuse me.
ordinance authorizing the
Excuse
mayor.
me,
I'm sorry, Ray.
we have to vote to,
Have to vote again.
Vote,
we
yeah.
considered it,
Yes.
now we have to vote. the right.
That was a motion to reconsider.
No, not to accept the
Now we have to
reconsideration, to
adopt.
advance and adopt
Long
on first
morning.
with the movers.
Shh, let them talk it out, y'all, please. There's too many people in the mic talking, like, let them talk it out right here. All right, so a roll call to adopt, to advance and adopt on first. With the movers, with Councilman Silva, I believe is sponsoring. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Roundtree. Roll call?
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree,
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President McIver.
Yes. Please, if there are any other requests, let us know in advance before we get to rolling the vote. Next item.
8B is an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or his designee to enter into and execute an amendment with Bygones LLC for the sale and redevelopment of city property.
Hey, any questions or comments from council members regarding this item? This is 8B. Seeing none, roll call?
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree,
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President McIver.
Yes.
8CS,
Yes, Councilman Gonzalez.
Can we get the physical address instead of the block and lot on this property? Just-
Yes, Deputy Mayor Ladd, do you have the physical address for 8B? Or Madam Clerk, do you have it?
79 North Street. Okay,
Those are-
What's it for the record?
well, that's fine. Is that, I didn't have access to this, but it says that is for development of 57 North Street, 59 North Street, 61 North Street, 63 North Street, 65 North Street, 67 North Street, 69 North Street, 71 North Street, 73, 75 North Street, 77 North Street, 79 North Street, and 81, 85 North Street.
The entire block of Newark Street.
That's
Okay,
selling half the city.
all right. Any other questions, Councilman Gonzalez?
No, that's
All right, next item.
8C is an ordinance amending zoning and land use regulations by adding a section dealing with storm drainage and another section dealing with street designation.
Perhaps we can get a detailed information regarding this item, 8C.
Good morning, Council President, council members. Allison Ladd, Director of Economic and Housing Development. I know the council may recall this when we first brought it to your attention about 45 days ago. This is a small amendment that we're asking for your consideration on. The first reason for it is that when we amended the Newark zoning and land use regulations last year, one thing that we did is that we were not allowing residential development in commercial zones. And it wasn't intentional because we know we had some projects that were already advancing forward that were residential. And when we made that change, it actually unfortunately impacted the projects that were already approved for financing and to moving to permits. The second item is that there is an element around parking that we wanted to allow for in one of the industrial zones. This was discussed all of last year as well during the public meetings, and it was just an omission on the city's part, so it was an error, and we're just asking for your support to correct that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, and
I'm
just
sorry,
the
go
third
ahead.
part, Madam President, is just there were some administrative changes that both the engineering and the water and sewer department asked us to modify, and so those are some administrative amendments.
Okay, sorry about that, Deputy Mayor Ladd. Questions from council members? Councilman Council.
Yes, Madam Chair. Can we advance and adopt on first? Because there are many people that have projects that have been waiting.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Councilman Quintana. Okay, any other questions or comments from council members regarding this item? Seeing none, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Okay, roll call.
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree.
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President McIver.
Yes.
8DS is an ordinance amending the tax abatement granted to Oak Towers Urban Renewal LLC pursuant to the long-term tax exemption law to extend the time frame for the developer to complete construction of the project and to revise and add additional necessary provisions for the project consisting of the rehabilitation of 2 existing buildings containing 76 affordable housing rental units.
Okay, any questions or comments from council members regarding this item? Councilman Council.
Yes, can we advance and adopt on first?
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Roundtree. Any other comments or requests regarding this item? All right, seeing none, roll call.
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree.
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President McIver.
Yes.
8ES is an ordinance amending traffic by changing the permit parking hours on various streets in the East Ward, sponsored by Councilman Silva. And 8F is an ordinance amending traffic, again, by changing the meter parking hours on Ferry Street in the East Ward, sponsored by Councilman Silva.
Okay, questions or
President?
comments regarding this
Yeah,
item?
I'd like to
Councilwoman?
advance and adopt this, but I also just want to make a quick comment. So we did a study, and on any given week, Monday through Friday, there were anywhere between 500 and 600 vehicles that were parking between Penn Station and Merchant Street, where the residents didn't live there. They left their car there to go somewhere else, either jump on a train or take a vehicle to go to a job in another town. And after multiple community meetings with the residents, we decided, the residents and myself, to implement permit parking. So the permit parking, right now, it's a pilot program. It's going to be from McCorder Street all the way down to Merchant, from Lafayette to Market. It's going to read 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So when our resident gets home from work, they don't have to park 3-4 blocks away or have to look hours and hours for parking. They'll be able to find a parking spot close to home. As far as the changing the meters, a lot of the businesses in the Ferry Street corridor were complaining after a meeting with them that their customers cannot park in front of their business because the meters were 4 hours long, and they were just losing business to these vehicles parking for 4 hours. And so we're reducing that down to 2 hours. But numerous meetings took place. It was a community always taking their lives and how difficult it is to find parking. We've discussed it here today, and we'll discuss it every day from now until I don't know when, that parking is becoming more difficult. So I'm hoping that this will at least help a little bit. It's not the answer. I always believe that municipal parking lots and other parking development will eventually happen in the East Ward. but this is the start of trying to make lives easier for our residents.
Thank you so much, Councilman Silva. Any other comments? All right, do I have a second for 8E? Second by Councilman Quintana. What about 8F? Okay, second by Councilman Gonzalez. All right, roll call on 8E and 8F to advance and adopt.
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Abstain.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree.
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President McIver.
Yes.
Council President, council members, just for the record, the ordinances adopted today on first reading will be advertised in accordance with law, and a public hearing will be held at the regular meeting on September 5th or soon thereafter as practical. And just to double back, items 8E now becomes item 8A now becomes 6D. Item 8C now becomes 6E. Item 8D now becomes 6F. 8E becomes 6G. 8F becomes 6H. For the record. Council President, council members, we have two added starters.
Of course.
Of course. Both are involving the UEZ, Urban Enterprise Zone. The first, 7R4A ASS, is the UEZ administrative budget. And B is application to the Urban Enterprise Zone Authority for funding to create an updated preliminary zone development plan.
Okay, any questions from council members regarding 7R4A and B? Seeing none, roll call.
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree,
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President McIver.
Yes.
Council President, you want to have public comment before the conference?
Yes, we can do our 30-minute public comment session now.
We are now in the 30-minute public comment portion of this meeting, where each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name for the record. Is there anyone wishing to address the council?
Go.
You can go, Ms. Parker.
Lisa Parker. Number one, all of you that made commentary about how you care about your seniors, University Estates Homeowners Association are seniors. The 40 homeowners that was the catalyst for Society Hill. When our tax abatement got expired, you did nothing. When the Society Hill, when the seniors that lived there in Society Hill, you did nothing. Let's talk about what these 30-year tax abatement mean and translate to. Because let's look at your combined budget from 2022 to 2023, that you have $680 million in a deficit that you have not reconciled for 2 years. That's not including the debt, the money that you borrowed through bonding. All of these tax abatements translate onto the residents that live here, that you have no interest in creating anything to give help and assistance to the homeowners and the residents that live here. You're saddling us in debt. I already checked my homework and did my homework from DCA and got your budget. So any of that nonsense that you talking after I leave, because you're supposed to address the residents that come before you while they're standing here at the podium. So no, I'm not waiting until the end. I'm leaving, because if you don't address me here, then you have no interest in addressing the public in your role as an elected official to represent us. Kelly, you did nothing to rescind the tax abatement from L&M that had people at Georgia King Village living in deplorable conditions. This young lady here, thank God for her that she got an interest in civics. But 30 years from now, she's gonna be paying in taxes the debt that you created today. And while you all sit up there and talk about you care about your seniors, no, you really care about what the bottom line is for you. Who's paying for your campaigns, and no interest in assisting or creating any legislation to help the people that are here. You can't even reconcile a budget that you're on a calendar year. Why are you introducing a budget in August that you should have presented in January? Right now, you're supposed to be presenting a budget for a 90-day review by the people in September for 2025. You are saddling us in debt and have no recourse for the $680 million you.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Next speaker.
Felicia Austin Singleton. Well, Lisa, you took my lines. September, what we're coming upon, you're supposed to be introducing the 2025 budget. For us to have a 90-day review, and then you introduce it in January. Every year we go through the same thing. Gonzalez asks when we're gonna get a budget. You have spent the money that you're now out here saying that, oh, what we're gonna put in and approve. It was already approved. Y'all taking one budget to consolidate the last year budget. You did that last year and you're doing it again this year, and you're gonna keep on doing it. You're taking money that you already used to sit back and now pad the 2023 budget. Yeah, I think people are stupid. But I'm gonna tell you one thing, and that goes for all of y'all. Y'all see my name? It's my family shirt. This is my name. Get it right, say it right. Because I don't wanna ever have to call somebody something that's not their name, and will do. You sat up here and y'all messed up the housing authority. You messed up everything, and then y'all want to come act like we're the problem. No, you're the problem. You exactly know what I mean when I say that they intimidated the seniors. You exactly know what I mean, how y'all got the seniors at the voting poll or didn't even want them to go on the boat ride until they voted for LaMonica. Come on, stop playing with me. They couldn't even go on a boat ride. Y'all gonna stop playing, because I will bring the seniors here who said it. Now, if we're gonna play that game, I can guarantee you, you do not wanna tiptoe with me. But at the end of the day, your developers is getting over on the residents. They didn't file the stuff right with the county. They lied on the paperwork, and all y'all do is say yes, 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 because y'all getting them back kicks, them bribes, and we know about them. And guess what? When I start coming to this mic to divulging the information, everybody don't look shocked. Just say, yeah, I did it, because you did. We all know how it go down. What you think, Joe just got caught? Victor Santos just got caught? They was facing 30 years in prison. They got 1 year. You know, who you fooling that they ain't talking to? 30 years to 1 year. Y'all got a lot of shame with y'all. If you don't like it, if you don't like what we say, we have a right as residents to stand at this mic and say whatever we want to say. You don't like it, get up.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Veronica Hennett. I'm a senior. I've been a resident of the city of Newark over 60-some years. I live in Newark housing. I've been there close to 30 years. I recently had a situation where they relocated me from my comfort zone to a bed bug, roach infested building. Something I'm not used to doing. I don't live like that. And all I ask from Newark Housing is to put me back in the ward which I came. The address that they put me in, 58 Evergreen Lane, Stephen Crane, I slept there 3 nights and was tore up by the bed bugs. The district manager of that building told me in order for them to transfer me out of that building, I had to get a note from my doctor. Why should I have to get a note saying under these deplorable conditions, I can't live? Who in their right mind can live under circumstances like that? And then they had the audacity to do a treatment. They did 3 treatments. 3 Mondays in a row, they did 3 treatments. Since the treatments, I've been going to the apartment. I haven't slept there since June the 18th was my last night sleeping in this unit. I've been staying with my children. But Saturday just passed, and what do I see as soon as I walk in the bedroom? Bed bugs, again. But they won't relocate me. I don't know what the issue is. I done did my part, I done worked. All I want is peace and enjoy my comfort in my own home. But this building, code enforcement, I went to them. I went to the Board of Health. I don't know who else to go to. I just want out of that building. And they're not helping me. Housing is not helping me. I done talked to Spicer. I sent him an email, no response. Ms. Motley, no response. Nothing from the city of Newark. I don't know what my recourses is. What else can I do? Yes.
Please,
But
let her finish.
I've been staying with my children, and I know I'm not a burden to my children. I just want to be in my own. I want them to have their own, and I want my own. I want to be comfortable in my own, though. And I was good where I was at. 165 Elizabeth Avenue, I was good there. I never had an issue, none. No bed bugs, no roaches, no nothing. Ants, yeah, but I could do with ants. The bed bugs is the other stuff I couldn't do with. And I'm just asking for help.
Thank you, Ms. Hennett, for your concerns. I'm gonna ask someone from code enforcement as well as legal and the health department to meet with Ms. Hennett in the back of the, somebody will meet you in the back. Ms. Hennett as well. Can we take Ms. Hennett's comments and make sure that they're forwarded to Newark Housing Authority entire commission board? I know Councilman Council is here, but can we get a remarks directly to them as well?
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hennett. Next speaker.
Hi, good morning. My name is Aisha Holman, mother of Aziz Williams. I'm just here to let you guys be aware of the hiring processes for Newark Police. My son Aziz Williams was working for Speedy in 2015 and an armed guard left his gun in a bathroom. My son got every person out of there at Balder Street Recreation Center. At the time, Khalid Thomas was over all the recreation centers. My son then decided he wanted to be a Newark Police. He passed everything except the psych test. To come to find out that the woman that was doing the psych test is a racist, that she fails all Black applicants and passes all the other nationalities. I think this is unfair. I'm not asking for any favors. I'm just saying do your investigation, get Keystone Psychology out of there. They're not doing anything for our city. Me and my son was born and raised here. He's a good kid, a good young man. Stand up, son. High honors in school. Mayor Raz Baraka knows him, Aziz Williams. All I'm asking for you guys to do is get an investigation going on. A lot of our Black children was turned around, and your investigators are aware of it because 2 of them came to me and told me this was the issue. So thank you for your cooperation, and hopefully you guys do what you need to do because these are the kids, these are the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holman, for those comments.
Mandera El Bomani. I just want to continue to say that Black and Latino faces in high places is not going to save you, Newarkers. You got to get up and save yourself. It is a shame. It's a shame what you politricksters do to the elderly. It is a crying out shame. You know they vulnerable, and you take advantage of them. That's what you do. And you've been doing it for years. Ain't nothing changed. What needs to change is the family members need to take better care of their elderly affairs. That's what the family members need to do. Because you continue to allow these people to whisper in your elderly parents' ear and take advantage of them, you're part of the problem just as well as they are. 90% of the developments that received 30% tax abatements were not in compliance. Residents came here and got one right here, but that's the housing authority. But we had a whole slew of residents talked about you giving tax abatements and the developments dilapidated. Residents after residents came here complaining about the lack of repairs, the maintenance problems, and you just sit up there and you do nothing but pass tax abatements. So we, the citizens of Newark, need to petition higher authority, like I'm always say, to investigate and place an independent monitor over our tax abatement program. That's what we need to do. And we need to stop playing with you if we really serious. The issue about hiring Newarkers, it clearly shows that they don't have a plan to address our racial, housing, economic crisis that we face in this city. It clearly shows that. When will the people of the city of Newark wake up and stop supporting these failed elected officials? When are you going to stop supporting them? What do you plan to do if we don't agree with the ordinance that's Tillman talking about? You sit on the Equitable Growth Commission. What is that about? What is the equitable you're talking about? What is the equitable in the housing? Where's the equitable in the job?
Thank you.
Where's the
Next speaker, next speaker, next speaker, next speaker. I'm sorry, there's a long line behind you and we're on a time limit. Next speaker.
John Goldstein, 171 Van Buren Street. I have some comments about the proposed changes to the Newark River Public Access and Redevelopment Plan. There's a reason why this proposal is unacceptable, and that's because it started with what the developer needs from this project instead of starting from what the community needs from this project. There has been no meaningful community input into this proposed change. So it's clear what the developer wants. They want rezoning of key parcels to increase the value. They want closing streets. They want a view of the riverfront park extension. And I'm sure they're going to want a massive tax abatement. So in return for all this public investment, here's what the community needs. We need an aggressive, affordable housing provision that goes beyond the minimums required by the IZO. We have a housing crisis in our city. We have to get serious about it. Rent increases are the highest in the nation. We have to stop pretending that we're addressing it. We need a realistic approach to the additional traffic that this project is going to cause. Not just a parking study, but an actual traffic study, because we know that those streets are already congested. They're going to close streets, and we need to actually look at the full impact of that, not just how many parking spaces there are, and not a traffic study paid for by the developer, by the way. We need a legally binding commitment from the developer and PSE&G to complete Riverfront Park. This thing about rezoning the land so that PSE&G can get an assessment so that they can sell it and all this and all that. It's land, It's open space land. It should continue to be open space land. And we need to just be sure that that riverfront park can be completed. We need provisions for affordable commercial space for local businesses. We need other local amenities to be determined by a community engagement process. And we need a local hire requirement, not just for construction, but for the permanent jobs that are created there, the property maintenance jobs that are created there. The commercial tenants need to also be hiring local residents. It's an enormous project, not for just the East Ward, but for all of Newark. We talk a lot about equitable development. Now is the time to act.
Thank you so much, Don. Next speaker.
Good afternoon, everyone. So on 2013, this ordinance was adopted for the Newark River Public Access and Redevelopment Plan and Order. So one of them, it mentioned that it was supposed to be connecting existing neighborhoods to the riverfront through harmonious and walkable development, provided design guidance to protect view corridors and create appropriate setbacks for the river's edge, and ensure inclusion of public access along with the river of all redevelopment projects in order to implement the public trust doctrine. Then in 2017, they changed the district mixed use from 10 stories to the maximum of 25. Then in 2019, it went from 5 floors to 40 floors. Now, in 2021, an ordinance amending Ordinance 6P SFI adopted on August 7th to adopt the Fourth Amendment to the Newark River Public Access and Redevelopment Plan by creating a new district, Valentine Brewery Mixed Use District, an area bound by the Ironbound. Number one, how does this project create harmony, ensure inclusion of public access along the river? Number two, why was Valentine Brewery included in the Newark River Public Access Redevelopment Plan by creating a new district? In January of 2021, I had a meeting with ICC, Chris Waston, and also Valentine developers in regard to the site development. I requested that affordable units stay on site in a community meeting, which was scheduled on April 27th. Unfortunately, the city and the developer did not attend our Zoom meeting. We had over 20 participants. We had a plan, and the city did not allow our voices and ideas and our concerns. So this is why it's important for our community discussion that is truly valued and respected. The master plan is a collaborative effort in the city and the residents, not with developers that are changing the face of our community. Ironbound is one of the lasting gems in the city of Newark, and the environment is just impacted by bad smells. So that's why we're requesting for it to be deferred again, and that we have a meaningful community meeting and an understanding of how this is going to affect the whole city of Newark. And I'm requesting this as Tanisha Garner, which is the Homes for All co-chair. And we also like to have ICC and other advocates and other organizations to be able to come together with Silver and also with the city council and a developer to really understand what we need to do to move forward as a collective. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner. Next speaker.
Good afternoon, good morning, Donna Jackson. I find it so funny. You guys are, I don't know what Newark you live in. It gotta be Delaware. You can't live here, there's no way. Downtown booming, building all over the place. South Orange Avenue Grove, still empty. Let me see, just all over where we live at, particularly the dark and brown. Where we live at. Looks like hell. Ain't fixed nothing. Haven't made steps to improve anything in our areas. The need for low-income housing. I'm not going to talk about affordable housing anymore because I don't want to hear it. The people that live here don't make $85,000, so y'all can keep saying affordable if you want to. Affordable doesn't apply to you, Norkers, so stop listening to the lingo that started here in 2017 with this boy who got y'all disillusioned to think that affordable housing was low-income housing that you could move into. Now, 5 years later, you see it does not apply to you. So you have priced us out of here. You haven't legislated anything in this town against evictions that have been illegally done since the pandemic, because people in Newark were getting put out. I came to this council and I told you that. I told you we had over 500,000 landlord-tenant eviction cases right there in Essex County Court, the majority of them Newark residents. They're doing a mass exit of the blacks in Montclair, East Orange, because you guys are building all of this train housing for these people that are out of town to come in, zip in, sleep here Monday through Thursday, and go to their loft in Upper New York on the weekend. This plan is not for us. So the people here, we are causing this, folks. We got to come out here. You know, we are disrespected in this meeting because we don't agree with the things that are going on here. We have militarized our police department to come in here and attack the citizens. You now are the only municipal city hall that somebody got to sign into in the country. Are y'all crazy? Why are you making us sign in and show ID to come into City Hall? You have said nothing. You forced these folks that work for this city to get the COVID shot. Are you prepared, once they understand what their rights are, to sue you for the unconstitutional act that you and the mayor agreed to? For all the people that died, all the officers we lost, all the firefighters we lost, all the clerks, all the sanitation guys, are you prepared to pay the cost? As you are right now killing these guys that's working on sanitation. You're killing them. You're not giving them the proper protection, the proper protocol. So as you're doing all this building, where's all the new workers? Where's the new garbage trucks? Where's the new snow plows? You're not even thinking about that. You have done nothing to fix this infrastructure, but you keep building. Well, God is sending the hurricanes. I pray that we make it through it.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Next speaker.
Good morning, council.
Good morning.
When I come before the council, I am very concerned.
Name?
I don't come here often, but when I do come, my complaints are legitimate.
Name for the record?
My name is Janice Relaford to follow. I am representing Homes for All Newark. I am directing my concern to Councilman Silva. Councilman Silva, when we had the community meeting for the Iberia development, you and I had a sidebar. And you made that commitment that you would ensure that there would be another community meeting with the developers after the first meeting. To my dismay, upon coming back from vacation and having 15 or 18 emails or texts saying that this was moving forward. One thing, anyone who knows me on this council, I hold each one of you accountable. So when you make a statement to me, I can't speak for the rest, I'm holding you accountable. You did not keep that commitment to me. It is also my understanding that you entered a CBA, a community benefit agreement for the Ironbound community or the East Ward. Councilman, you can't do that without your community. These are the people who put you in office. So therefore, you should have embraced them. There is so much wrong with this project. It looks like it's not even a part of the fabric of the neighborhood that Ironbound or the East Ward has structured. I understand we have to do development. I understand that gentrification is going to come into our city, but we have to think about what we have before us, and that is the community. ICC is a very powerhouse in the East Ward. So I understand that they were not even invited to any additional meetings with the developers. The developers made that commitment that they would meet with us again before, so let me get this straight, before we go before the planning board or the central planning board or the zoning board. And that did not happen. So I am not happy taking my time coming here to address and hold you accountable, Councilman Silva. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Afalo. Next speaker.
Hello, Council. My name is Miles Zhang. I'm a lifelong Newark resident, and I teach Introduction to Urban Planning and Urban History at the University of Michigan. And I'd like to speak today as a PhD candidate in urban planning in opposition to the proposed upzoning of the Ironbound neighborhood. And the reason I'd like to speak opposed is I'd like to, speak as a historian and to say that Newark has the capacity to support a lot of population growth and a lot of economic development, but certain neighborhoods are overburdened and certain neighborhoods are underburdened. If you look at the capacity of what Ironbound is able to support in terms of population and infrastructure, in 1950, when Newark's population is at its height, Ironbound's population is about 65,000. And that's about Ironbound's population today is about that same number, 65,000, give or plus 5 or 10% population change. And so this project proposes to build several 4 to 8 30-story structures in a neighborhood that is currently zoned for structures between 5 and 12 stories. So we're adding thousands of new units in capacity in the neighborhood that is least able to support that kind of population change. Now, where should we be encouraging development in downtown Newark? If you look at the census data from Newark's height in the 1950s to where Newark is today, the Newark neighborhoods that have experienced the most population loss are about 200 to 300 blocks in Newark's central ward. That is, the poorest neighborhoods of our city, the neighborhoods with the most underinvestment have also seen the most population loss. And if we're looking at the neighborhoods that can support population growth, particularly of affordable housing, it's in those neighborhoods of Newark's central ward. The goal of city infrastructure development should be to provide the highest quality of city services, that is, police, fire, utilities, public schools, libraries, at the lowest cost to Newark residents. As we know, Newark Ironbound is the most diverse neighborhood. It's one of the best neighborhoods in Newark. It's also the neighborhood that is most overwhelmed in terms of its library system that is heavily used, and schools that are overcrowded, the traffic on Ferry Street. By contrast, Newark Central Ward, a neighborhood that experienced a population loss of about 100,000 people from the 1950s to today, is the neighborhood in Newark that is most equipped for the construction of new affordable housing. The goal of our master plan and the goal of economic development should be to equitably distribute new construction across the 5 wards and not concentrating it in one neighborhood and one place in one downtown. And that is the goal of our master plan. And fundamentally, this project undermines that goal because it is spot zoning, upzoning a single lot in a single district because one developer requested it.
Thank you, Miles.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next speaker.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
Hayes White, CEO for Ironbound Community Corporation. I'm here to address a few comments on the Iberia project, which is the redevelopment plan and amendment to the our riverfront redevelopment plan. So touching on a few topics, right? One is the community engagement. There was one meeting in November, and we've been silent since then. Ironbound Community Corporation is requesting that there be more community engagement, more meaningful community meetings, which allows the community at large to give their input. I also want you to reference the master plan. On about page 224 of the master plan, there's a note about a climate adaptation plan. As we know, the Ironbound floods. We know that we're on the coastal shorelines. We're seeing how climate change is happening, right? This is where in the master plan where we talked about looking at the environmental issues before we move forward with development in the eastward. It's stating in the master plan. So I've touched on the climate issues. I've also touched on the community engagement. I'm also going to touch on the give back to the community. When you're looking at stories that's 5 stories and 12 stories and you're increasing them to 30 stories, I understand that the ICO kicks in, but what else is to give back to the community? Are we going to put more affordable housing in there? Are we only looking at the layouts of the apartments? We want this to be apartments for all Newarkers. And we also want it to include families. When you're constructing one bedrooms and when you're constructing studios, you're not opening up the market for families, right? Families is 2 bedrooms and 3 bedroom apartments. So we want more community engagement. We want to be involved in any community benefits agreement. Community benefits agreement are not siloed. They're not done at the table with one individual or business owners. They're taken to the community at large so the community can say what they want, right? The community can say, what are some of the things we want to see in the community? These are the points that I'm going to address. Folks behind me are going to address more. I want to thank you for deferring it, and ICC is requesting and also would like to be engaged, and we can also help with leading and bringing community together, so therefore we can really get the thoughts of the community on this, right? As you guys remember, back in 2013, ICC was very involved in this redevelopment plan. That's my comments. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That now concludes our public speaking. I'm sorry, Mr. Jacobs, we're done with public speaking. That is our time limit on public speaking. At this time, we'll have responses from council members regarding any comments. Councilman Silva?
Yes. Good afternoon. Regarding the development of Iberia, we did have one meeting. There is another meeting scheduled for August 27th of this, in a few weeks at 7 p.m. at the Portuguese Sport Club, where the last one was located. We didn't have a meeting over the summer because I was advised people are away, people are not here, people are on vacation. So that's why we scheduled it late into the summer to make sure everybody who wanted to be there was available. Yesterday, we had some meetings on the budget, and the budget here in the city is very, very tight. Currently, the Iberia project, the whole property pays a couple $100,000 a year in property tax. These new buildings are going to bring in an extra $4 to $5 million into our budget that's going to help the entire city, not only the East Ward. It's going to help hire more police to keep everyone safe, hire more firemen, fix our infrastructure, get the things that we need. I've always said from the beginning that the community will always be involved in any development. This is the second meeting that's taken place. I don't know many other developments where the community's got 2 meetings to give us their input. One of the things that we learned from the first meeting that the community was not happy about, and we took it off the table, was a pedestrian walkway, closing down Congress Street from Ferry to Market Street. This project will provide 300 affordable housing units. This project will provide 2.5 years of work and labor, and we'll make sure affirmative action, Councilwoman Roundtree, is involved to make sure our residents here get those jobs. We're going to make sure that all the retail that's involved in these buildings, that the jobs go to Newarkers. I realize the ICC is advocating for certain things, but as councilmen, I have a responsibility to the entire ward, to the entire East Ward, to all the people who live there. Now, somebody made a comment about negotiations or something was agreed to. The only thing that was agreed to was 150 to 200 municipal parking spots in a garage. That's it. For the business owners, for the business community, for the residents, that was the only thing that's negotiated. Now, they applied for Aspira, so we are going to get a community benefit of over $2 million. And that's where I'll be holding meetings to make sure that that money goes to benefit our community. But no other negotiations that taken place. Those 150, 200 parking spots were announced at the first meeting at the Portuguese Sport Club. It's no secret. It was made public there that it's something that we needed, municipal parking, because again, by changing ordinances I did earlier today, I'm giving my residents, my business owners, more parking. That's probably one of the #1 issues in the East Ward. And so I realize the ICC has an issue with this, but as a council person, I have an ultimate responsibility to look at the bigger picture. And so I'm willing to work with you guys. I'm willing to have another meeting, which we're having on the 27th. A flyer will be put out this week. Notifications will be made this week, and you'll get an opportunity. I want to give praise to the developer who has to agree to this and did agree to this and wants what's best for the East Ward like we all do. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Councilman Silva. Councilman Kelly?
Thank you, Madam President. Just a quick statement. There was a statement made that I believe by Ms. Parker that said Councilman Kelly did nothing when it came to the rescinding the tax abatement in Georgia King Village. And I just want to say that that's absolutely not true. I think if you watch the council meetings, you have witnessed us fighting for GKV, going through a plethora of problems when it comes to the ownership of L&M, and being fair to L&M as well, we have took them through the process, through the court system. The administration has been very, gracious as helping us deal with this problem, corporate counsel, but they did not win in court. So we still didn't give up, though. We still fought for the residents of GKV, with the advocates over there at GKV, with the community advocates, with the residents at GKV, to try to get them some resolve. L&M, they continue to come and answer a lot of our requests. The residents still said it was some of it was Band-Aids, and we still pressed them to fix things, so much so that we got them to consider new ownership and management of the facility. So I just wanted to say that statement that says that I did nothing is like, you can watch these tapes, you can watch our council meetings, that is like absolutely not true. And I still stand with the residents of GKV to this day, because there's issues we're still dealing with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Kelly. Any other comments from council members? All right, seeing none, any responses from administration? Oh, good afternoon.
That's right. Eric Pennington, Business Administrator. I think with respect to the Iberia project, Councilman Silva set forth the administration's position fairly well, as well as his own. So I didn't really have much more to add to that, other than that we are supportive. There are, some complicated development, but overall, we do think it's going to be beneficial. There were a couple of other comments that were made, however. One indicated that the current proposed budget has a budget deficit, and that's just not accurate. We have proposed a budget that is a balanced budget. It's going to require us to do, some belt tightening, and certainly it will require us to work with the state to make sure that it is as least impactful to the residents as possible, and we'll continue to do so. We also recognize that next year, in 2025, we're going to have to continue that belt tightening, because one of the areas that has given the budget some difficulty is this equalization ratio. It's going to continue to be an issue until we have the reval, which will not take place right now until 2027. We are doing our best to expedite the reval. At some point, we're going to have to give, I think, a full explanation of what a revaluation of property does. A revaluation is not intended to increase the amount of revenue that comes into the city's budget. The purpose of the revaluation is to reallocate the funds that come into the city in a more equitable way. The areas of the city that have increased in value are going to have their properties reassessed at a higher rate, but it's a zero-sum game. So that means that somewhere else, the properties in the city are going to decrease the assessed values. Well, there'll be a relative decrease in the assessed value of the property. And so there are some properties where the actual taxes will go down, and in other cases, they will go up. But it'll be a zero net increase to the city's budget. One last point. There was a speaker who talked about the process for evaluating police recruits. And she made a fairly serious allegation, which I think we have to look into, and that is that the psychiatrist that our police department uses is racist. I don't know exactly what that means, but I will certainly look into the data to see whether or not there is a disparity between the candidates who are excluded from the psych evaluation based on their race. And if the data supports that allegation, we'll address it and deal with that particular psychiatric company. I think she said it was Keystone Psychiatric. So we will look at the data to see whether it supports that, because we can't have a process that is racially discriminatory on its face. And if that is the case, it will be taken care of. I don't have anything else unless there are questions from the council.
Okay. Any additional questions for the BA? Seeing none, thank you so much. Councilman Gonzalez?
I am going to reiterate my request for the budget for the Latino Festival. I respect you and your office, and I believe that we should get the same respect. I believe that we are deserving of having that information. We are entitled to that information, and we should get that information.
With respect to that, Council President, to Councilman Gonzalez, I did look into your request to find out what the source of funds was for the festival. And for this year, a good focus of the festival is to spread the message of anti-violence and to make sure that we continue the mayor's and administration's efforts and the council's efforts to reduce violence in the city and to make sure that violent crime continues to reside at an historic low. And because of that, a significant portion of the funds for this festival are going to be coming from what's remaining in the ARP funds that we are available to be allocated. We have gotten confirmation over the last several months from White House directives that those funds can be used for anti-violence measures, and that's what we intend to do. The specific request for what the exact budget is, line item budget, I don't have that yet, but we will certainly get that to you because you are entitled to it, and hopefully I'll get that to you in the next day or so.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. BA. Councilman Crum, did you have a comment? No? Okay. Thank you. All right. Councilman Crum?
Yeah, if we're finished with it, I just want to do a sorrow and regret.
Sure.
For Eddie Porter. He was a resident of South 13th Street for a very long time, been involved in the community. Those who know him know that he was not afraid to speak up, and he was actually in my district as a district leader and would come to the meetings on a regular basis and talk about issues that were affecting our community. A faithful member of St. James AME, and to be quite frank, an all-around good guy who was very supportive of the community. Unfortunately, he passed July 26th. And his presence and advocacy for our community, and especially our children too. He was a Sunday school teacher as well. Will be missed.
Thank you so much, Councilman Crump. Mr. BA.
Yes, again, Eric Pennington, Business Administrator. I apologize that I neglected in response to Councilman Gonzalez's question about the budget. and his prior comment that we are facing budgetary constraints and budgetary issues, and so we shouldn't fund these festivals. I did want to address that briefly. I think that often when there are cuts in budgets, in school budgets, in county budgets, in city budgets, the sports and arts are hit first, and they're hit the hardest. I think one of the reasons for that is they're not viewed as being essential to the community and to the lifeblood of what makes the city a good city. But we believe that arts and sports and other entertainment are critically important, almost as important as some of the other infrastructure initiatives that we have. Need to make sure that our residents have an opportunity to experience culture. Some of the cultural events that we've had here in the East Ward, for example, have been amazing. And they have been, in large measure, due to some of the things that Councilman Silva has done. He's invited the entire city to come to these festivals to experience the culture of Portugal and of Brazil and of Ecuador. And that is part of what this administration wants to continue to do, to make sure that we understand our residents and the diversity here. And to the extent we have to cut the budget, we have to cut it everywhere. But there should not be a disproportionate cut in the arts and culture. When we look at the budget, we have to cut it everywhere to the extent we can. But we will continue to support arts and festivals and parades because it's important to the fabric of this city.
Okay, all right, thank you so much, Mr. BA. Councilman Gonzalez?
Follow up on that is I couldn't agree with you more. Let's say I agree that festivals are important, and that's why we have the Puerto Rican Day Parade, the Dominican Parade, we had the Ecuadorian Parade, we have the Portuguese Parade. So I believe that the city's funds should not be used for those purposes because the entities that sponsor those events do pay for those. So I believe that we have a great exposure to culture from the Brazilian, Ecuadorian, Portuguese, Dominican, and Puerto Rican parades. I don't think that we need another one.
Understand your position, Councilman.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from council members before we move on to the yellow sheet?
Council President, Council.
Still have that here. Just any
Yes,
other?
we do.
Okay.
Before we move on, can we get a roll call for Councilman
can't hear
Crump's
you.
motion?
Sure
We can't hear you.
My apologies,
Little hard
Council
to hear.
President, council members. Can we get a roll call for Councilman
Oh,
Crump's?
Crump's motion.
Yes.
I'll second it. Roll call.
Council, Crump,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree,
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President McIver.
Yes.
And if we're moving on to the conference, can we get a roll call to adjourn the special meeting?
Yes. Roll call to adjourn.
Council,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree,
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President McIver.
Yes.
We are now in the special conference portion of this meeting where we'll have I'm sorry, Council President, council members, we have to cancel one of our presentations, so we'll have two presentations today. The first presentation is from the Nature Conservancy.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Good morning, council members. My name is Phil Echeverria. I'm the Director of Government Relations for the New Jersey chapter of the Nature Conservancy. I want to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to present today to really give a more formal introduction about the Nature Conservancy and the work that we're doing in New Jersey. Before I turn over to my colleague, Katie Rose Imbriano, who is the director of our cities program, I wanted to mention that the Nature Conservancy prides itself on not only being a community partner, but as a science-based resource and collaborator with all of our elected officials throughout the state. We strive to bring science-backed policies to our elected officials to help improve conservation efforts throughout our state. After our presentation, if you feel like there's anything that we brought up that you would like to discuss further, we'd welcome a further conversation more in depth. But with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Katie Rose Imbriano, who is the director of our cities program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. I want to especially thank Councilman Ramos for inviting us to speak today. And I also want to acknowledge Councilwoman Scott Roundtree, as well as Councilman Council, who has assisted us with the recent tree planting. As my colleague, Phil Echevarria said, my name is Katie Rose Imbriano, and I'm the Director of Cities Programs for the Nature Conservancy in New Jersey. The Nature Conservancy is a global organization that works in over 70 countries and every state in the United States to address our two major issues of climate change and biodiversity loss. And I can say with confidence that is an issue that you all know, and the people gathered here, is an issue that is experienced here in Newark. You've heard our partners at the Office of Sustainability probably present when they did their leafing out grant that we are a city that has the second worst heat island effect in the nation, and we are specifically impacted by the urban heat island effect. That's predominantly because of the amount of built environment combined with the low amount of green spaces. We also know that Newark has a low tree canopy relative to other cities of its size. We did research with Rowan University to see that it's under 15%. And again, I know my colleagues at the Office of Sustainability have already presented to you about some of the initiatives that they're doing, but I'd love to be able to share with you today some of the other work that we're doing in and with the city of Newark, and ask for your continued support of our efforts as we work to make Newark more sustainable, greener, and a healthier place to live for all residents. So in the last year, we have undertaken tree planting efforts in Branch Brook Park. We planted 200 trees with volunteers and the Branch Brook Park Alliance. We have a relationship with the Mayor's Office of Homelessness Services. I was actually very pleased to see, though I know he's sick, Louis Solario, the director of that office, on the agenda after me speaking, because we have a partnership with that office to ensure that our city's most vulnerable residents, that is people who are unhoused or at risk of becoming unhoused, have a green, cool, and safe environment in which to live when they're in transitional housing. We've also done a partnership with organizations across the city to develop something called a green print. A green print is free, open access environmental data that any person, any community group, and especially our elected officials can use to inform environmental decisions and citing new projects. So I know that it goes without saying that we would love to be able to continue our work to ensure that all of Newark's 300,000 plus residents are able to benefit from the work that we do, and that we're committed to doing that work equitably. One of the biggest projects that we're going to have coming before you is something called the Newark Tree Canopy Initiative. Back in 2023, our organization served as a convener for multiple organizations across the city, some of whom were present here, but including the city of Newark, as well as partners in each of the wards and in our institutional relationships, to develop a systemic plan for addressing issues with tree canopy. And you will see an MOU and a resolution coming before you at some point in the fall. But I want to let you know that we have put together a project that aims to address the city's low tree canopy and reduce extreme heat, the urban heat island effect, and improve the health outcomes for socially and economically vulnerable people. I just want to leave you with the 5 key elements of that program so that it's clear what this project is as related to the leafing out grant, which I know already came before you in a previous agenda item. Together, the Nature Conservancy and its partners, including the City of Newark, we've received $8 million for this initiative. Together with the Office of Sustainability, we'll be developing an urban forestry master plan. We'll be planting over 2,700 trees citywide. We will introduce a long-term maintenance program to optimize tree health. And most importantly, we'll be launching a green workforce development program to ensure that the benefits of this project are felt equally by all people across the city. And we ensure that the next generation of young people have the ability to get 1 foot on the career ladder, 1 foot on that bottom rung and be able to enter careers in the environmental sector. So again, I look forward to working with each and every one of you on advancing this initiative and greening initiatives in the city. If you have any questions or if you have an idea for something that you'd like to pursue in your council district, I'd love to be able to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Any questions from council members? Councilman Gonzalez?
I heard that they say you planted 200 trees at Branchwood Park.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot of trees there.
There is.
Are you intending to do some planting on the streets?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we are doing is there are several tree initiatives underway in the city. One is that the city has been the recipient of funding from the state in 2 different pots of funding. One is the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. Another is through the New Jersey Leafing Out Grant, which again was on the agenda before. Those 2 projects, together with the Newark Tree Canopy Initiative, is focused on street trees. But I want to make sure that you all know that we do other projects in addition to just street tree planting. The project at Branchbrook Park came to us because of the Branchbrook Park Alliance reaching out to us, and we're continuing our relationship with them. One of the really key parts of how we do our work is community-led, community-owned. We are not an NGO that is going to come into this community, take a picture with you, and then leave. We really believe in sustainability in terms of the process and the system. So when the community comes to us and says, this is what we want to do, this is their idea for it, we're going to leverage our technical expertise and our resources to be able to make that happen.
They say we have a lot of trees that are inappropriate for
That's right.
some of the areas.
Yeah.
And are breaking the sidewalks and the streets and going into property, individual properties. So I suppose that
It's a significant
an
issue.
expert are going to be appropriate trees.
It's a significant issue. And I do see that our city forester was here previously, Ryan Metz. He's put together an urban tree canopy manual. One of the slogans in our profession is right tree, right place. And I think that what we have experienced is wrong tree, wrong place. We also acknowledge that trees are not always viewed as a benefit. People are concerned about them breaking their sidewalks, branches falling on their homes, potentially breaking water pipes. And so we want to make sure that the benefits outweigh the perceived concerns that people have.
Thank you.
No, thank you for that question.
Councilman Quintana?
In terms of, we have an ordinance in terms of this council. We were instrumental in terms of you remove a tree, you have to replace it. So what happens is folks go out and try to get some kind of other tree. And oak trees are not as, they grow. And if you go into the forest hills, you see the huge trees that have really, as Councilman Gonzalez talked about. But with the Newark Conservancy years ago, there was a program where the Newark Conservancy would go out and tell folks, this is the kind of tree you need to put in front of your house. Because sometimes people waited and waited for the program. And again, someone decided, let's get some trees done. And they decided to put trees. Like you take, for example, in Belleville, they decided to put cherry blossoms on Newark Avenue. And then people try to do the same in Newark. Cherry blossoms are not for sidewalks, they're not that kind of tree. So we need your input in terms of moving forward. And also when the planning board and the board of adjustment approve certain plans, that sometimes they come before and they say, we're going to put the trees. The project goes up and you never see the tree.
Right. Do they pay into the trust fund, the tree trust fund?
Yes. And then, but with the Newark Conservancy, I don't know what's going on with that, but we need to, that conservancy is important.
They are.
Because for many years, I remember if you go to Franklin School on Park Avenue, I was instrumental in purchased those 2 trees through their effort for the children to plant the tree. So if you see the trees, they're still there, but it was a tree that was easy to maintain versus a tree that grows up and then the PSEGs of the world and Verizon's don't come and trim. So we want some trees, but the the condition of trees are very important in terms of a community. We don't
Absolutely.
have enough trees. And that is a problem for asthma. That is, I know Senator Booker so he brought some funding in term for the trees. I know we were supposed to have received. But again, your input is very important for especially planning boards to let them know what is a tree. That not what they decide to go to Home Depot and pick up a tree just to please someone. What kind of tree we need to have. So thank you.
Absolutely. Councilman Quintana, I just want to address a couple of things that you stated. One is that the urban tree manual that I referenced before that was recently developed by the Office of Sustainability was developed with the intention of being able to provide that guidance. So I think that's going to be a wonderful resource moving forward. How it's deployed, I'm not sure, but I think that will be the tool that we're looking for. The other thing that you brought up with the Greater Newark Conservancy, I know our names are very similar. They're a trusted partner of ours. They are going through a leadership transition, but the way that this grant, this Newark Tree Canopy Initiative grant is structured is that we're doing the convening, the facilitating, the administration, all the back of the house. We're also fronting all of the money because we're reimbursed for it. I mean, it's a reimbursement grant. And our partner in the Central Ward is the Greater Newark Conservancy. In the East Ward, it's the Ironbound Community Corporation. In the South, it's South Ward Environmental Alliance. We actually don't have an identified partner in the North, and as I talked to Councilman Ramos about. In the West Ward, we're working with UVSO. We also have institutional partners. But one of our aims is to ensure that people who know their own communities are able to have the resources and the capacity to be able to train people that they know. So they don't want an NGO, they don't want me coming and telling them what to do in their community. They want a trusted community organization to be able to teach them about right tree, right place, care and maintenance. And the third thing that I want to say is that this grant is providing funding to the city of Newark and specifically to Public Works to be able to pay for the tree maintenance because that costs money. Labor is we're talking about a budget here. Labor is a very big line item. So we understand that it doesn't matter if we plant a tree if we're losing two more, and maintenance is a key thing. So I appreciate you bringing that up because that is so critical.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Ramos, any comments?
No, I just want to say thank you. We met a few months ago and, wanted them to have an opportunity to come here and formally introduce themselves to the council and definitely bringing some good resources into the city. They've been coordinating with our Office of Sustainability. And, I think it's a win-win. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilman Kelly?
Hey, how you doing? When you say that you're working with UVSO in the West Ward, what does that look like? So that's just on record, the people know
Absolutely.
and understand.
So we're providing funding directly to them to be able to hire a tree planting coordinator, a coach, and a trainer to work with young people. And when I say young people, I mean, it could be really anybody under 40, to be able to learn about the skills of planting trees and then to go and plant and maintain trees in their community. So the nuts and bolts of it is that we received a grant from the U.S. Forest Service. The Nature Conservancy is going to provide funding through a sub-grant agreement directly to UVSO, and they're going to hire a tree planting coordinator, a coach, and a workforce trainer to do that.
So this work hasn't started yet.
So in order for us to begin this work, we're going to need to bring to this body an MOU as well as a resolution to accept the funding, not unlike the Leafing Out grant. But it's important for us that I give you a background on what that is, so that's not complete news to you. But this is not the only thing we do. We are totally committed to being in Newark and doing projects, not just around trees, but also around flooding and stormwater. Nature-based solutions of all kinds are really important. And we want to make sure that you know that we're here as a resource for not only tree planting, but other kinds of nature-based solutions.
And when it comes to the flooding and storm,
Yes, sir.
are you working with UVSO as well? Because we have areas in the West Ward that constantly flood in the Ivy Hill section.
Mm-hmm.
And
So, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no,
I didn't mean to
go
cut
ahead,
you off.
continue. You can continue.
So we don't have a partnership with them on that specific issue. However, one of our other partners is doing Infrastructure Green, And we are hoping to be able to support the implementation of some of the green infrastructure sites identified in the West Ward through the information that's just come out, I believe from HDR, who is the consulting firm that has identified how Newark can meet the green infrastructure requirements of the long-term control plan. So we are committed to being able to support the implementation of some of those projects. Obviously not all of them, but it's something that's very important to us. They've really done the whole Rain Ready New Jersey that Newark Dig is doing. That's where we want to plug in and be able to provide support and technical resources.
Can you make sure we just stay in contact so that I'm included? We can include my office in some of those things that
Absolutely.
you're trying to do.
Absolutely. And I appreciate meeting you today, and I'll be glad to send you a follow-up
Thank you very
email.
much.
Okay, any other comments, Councilman Silva?
Yes, I just want to elaborate on what Councilman Kelly's saying. I think you need to engage us. Okay, I appreciate the ICC, but at the end of the day, we're the ones that get the complaints and the concerns regarding trees. People wanted them planted, people wanted them cut down because they're damaging their home or the sidewalk. So I think it would be imperative not to include, I don't know about my other council colleagues, but to include me in the East Ward in any engagement that you're doing or anything that your plan, because obviously you can't tell us everything here in 15 minutes of the entire of what you're all about. You've touched on several points, but at the end of the day, I think you need to engage us a little more and just let us know what's going on.
Absolutely. And I'm happy to start the conversation today, but I'd love to take you up on that invitation to meet. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, well, I think that, Councilwoman Scott Roundtree, do you
No,
have
no,
another
no, no.
comment?
I just wanted to thank her because I know that Councilman Council, myself, and a couple of others have had conversation with you. I've even put a shovel in the ground, Council President, and planted a couple of trees myself with the initiatives that have been going on with this. So they say that helps us to improve the air, and we look forward to any further information and working with you as you go forward.
Happy to do that with those beautiful green heels on, no less.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Have
I
a great day. All right, next up, we have VO, North Go.
Where you going?
Hopefully, all council members had the opportunity to look at the updates, because I definitely don't want to spend another, we definitely don't need another presentation of the same. I know we're like on our 50th presentation with this particular program, and I mean that with all due respect, so I don't want to have another same convo and lingo. I know we want to address some of the issues that we're currently still having, so I'm going to ask council members to jump in and let's get to some of the problems that we're still having. Like good data, all that's great, but we all know that we're still having some issues regarding rider safety as well as the collection of the scooters. So I'll kick it off. I know this was happening. Right, so I know we're losing some of our body because they have other events that they need to get to, but any questions from council members here regarding the bike and scooter share program and the report that they gave us? Councilman Silva.
Yes, we've had several meetings with you guys here, and I'll be honest, and this is just my opinion within these two glasses here, that I haven't seen any improvement in any of the commitments made at this podium. And I could take up many more minutes of this meeting today, but I think that my council colleagues will also comment on certain things. In the East Ward, they're just all over the place. All over the place. I mean, they're left there for days upon days upon days, dropped on a sidewalk, leaning against people's cars, you name it, that's the issue in the East Ward. They're just all over the place. I know this was intended to be something positive for the city, but I can only speak for the East Ward because that's who I represent. And those scooters just, it's havoc. going down one-way streets. I know you're not responsible, and the riders should be held more accountable. Newark Police, unfortunately, is busy doing a lot of other more important things in keeping our residents safe. But it's just chaos in the mornings, in the afternoons. We've read of injuries and accidents, and I'm surprised, honestly, it doesn't happen more, because this is a ticking time bomb, and one day the things I see are going to come back to haunt us if we don't make a smart decision today on this. Again, this is just the East Ward's opinion, and I think I've read before that the East Ward has the most use out of any of the wards, and really, it is out of control. And I'll just say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Silva. Councilman Kelly?
Thank you, Madam President. It's this afternoon yet? Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, it's time to. Just real quick, you know, I know you guys have been in front of us numerous times. One of my concerns is the dropping stations, right? You know, I'm the councilman in the West Ward, so we have a couple of main corridors: South Orange Avenue, Central Avenue, and I don't see any dropping stations around those corridors. Like, it's nothing. There's actually nothing in the West as a dropping station, and we have South Orange Avenue, Central Avenue, Stuyvesant, Sanford, 18th Avenue, main corridors. So there's not like one designated dropping station in the West Ward. That's concerning to me, very concerning, especially when I had a friend whose son lives in Virginia come up to visit him, and they went out riding on the scooters, and he died. He got hit. So you have somebody who's coming to visit his father, and there's a death. In the West Ward, the scooters are everywhere. I actually like the scooters that they're able to get around. I just don't like that there's no the functionality of putting them places and dealing with our underage. And I know that you guys are talking about underage in this, you know, the underage rider prevention in here, but we still have to do something more, because there's the underage, they're going to ride, they don't have helmets. Just like Councilman Silva said, they're going opposite direction of the traffic. But one of my biggest concerns, you know, I won't go into everything because I know everybody's trying to get out of here, but there's no stations in the West Ward at all. You know, and that's very, very concerning to me, especially when we have 4 or 5 main corridors.
Thank you so much, Councilman Kelly. Councilman Crump?
Thank you, Council President. Just a quick question. Well, at least for the folks in front of us right now, is I just reading your presentation. You talk about rider incentives to encourage parking in marked corrals. What are the incentives that you're providing?
Generally, what we would do is I'm Austin Marshburn, Senior Director for BIRD. We would work with Newark Go, and they would partner on exactly what those incentives are. But generally, those incentives are something like a free unlock on your next ride. So that's $1 off your ride if you park it in the correct location. You know, that's essentially 30% off your ride generally when you park it correctly. That means.
So currently there aren't any incentives. It's something that you all are discussing and may do in the future. Is that what I'm hearing?
Once we put the parking corrals in place in those locations, yeah, we would put those incentives in place.
And so that doesn't include the, and what Councilman Kelly was talking about, the locations where you have determined where the I won't say go-karts, where the and I'm drawing a blank. Why?
It's a long
been
day.
A long day. Where the scooters, excuse me, that's where the scooters are you locate them. So that doesn't include that yet.
Good afternoon, Councilmember Crump. Just wanted to share with you that, as my colleague said, we've been working on setting up these locations, working with the data. We just got our striping contract approved in the last council meeting. So now that we have the data with the locations, we're going to start treating these locations as we would with not necessarily a traffic study, but just observation of which location physically would work for that node that gets a lot of ridership. You're going to start seeing, and I'm sure that you saw some of the pictures in the presentation, some delineated areas that we have some in the city, but they're not as prominent and there's not as prevalent all over the place yet. Now that we do have our contract in place for striping, we're working with traffic and signals to do quick build projects to put them in areas to see how they're received. And the good thing about that is that if it doesn't work, we could always take out the marking and put it somewhere near that would be better for the community.
So I would suggest that before you finalize that you discuss or provide it to the council members, particularly the ward council members of those locations. I had another question regarding public safety, and I'm not sure if the director is here. Well, we'll stick with this, I guess, Council.
I don't see, the director's here.
Yes, the director's here.
Okay. So
Yes. Mhm.
if I can ask.
Yeah, sure.
So with regards to, I guess a couple questions. Number one, what are penalties? What are laws that could be broken by the ridership of these scooters?
The riders can violate Title 39 statutes.
I couldn't hear you.
There are no city ordinance that are currently on the books for those riders, but there are Title 39 statutes if they're riding in the streets.
Have any summonses been issued at all for riders?
I don't believe so. I can check if for those riders.
And I understand that you all have a bigger job at hand too, but so I'm just asking this question.
Any other questions, Councilman Campbell?
I'm sorry, I thought he was, is there an expectation that there will be, I won't say a task force, but some kind of police or public safety force that's going to continue to monitor and possibly, if necessary, provide summonses to?
They are monitored to regular traffic enforcement when they're there. If they end up on the street cutting vehicles off, they will get stopped during regular traffic stops. There should be some city ordinances that could be written, which makes it a lot easier to follow up on instead of Title 39, because these vehicles only go about 15, 20 miles an hour.
More than likely, the council or the administration needs to come up with some kind of
city
ordinance that's going to provide summonses for those. All right, thank you.
I just wanted to ask a follow-up question. Have someone from I'm talking to you, Director Farjay, has someone from you, either you or someone from your team ever met with engineering and the scooter companies?
Yes, we've had conversations with engineering reference this matter, and one is because when they leave in places, how long are they there? Are they a public nuisance? Those are topics we had conversations about. But they're usually GPS tracked and picked up by the end of the day and sent back to the location of dispatch. So we've had conversations discussing on this. There's been some scooter accidents, but they weren't motorized throughout the city. I have to check if there's anything as far as accidents or something that's written specifically for these scooters that are given throughout the city.
Okay. Councilman Crump, you had a follow-up?
A couple follow-up questions. One is for, and I'm sorry, this is for actually Director, for the Director Wooden. With regards to, are there any penalties associated to the owners of these scooters? And this is a general question. Are there any penalties associated with something that they do not do properly or correctly?
Through looking through the questions and concerns from the council, we found a couple of things. The gap that we found with with Director Frage from Public Safety is that the local law that we have right now is based on the state law, which is only applies to bicycles. So, we found that gap. In which allows us to enter legislation that will open an opportunity for us to implement like a fine system, because we don't have a schedule of fines at this point for these kind of units. The other thing, the only thing that we have implemented by the programs is suspension to all the way to a ban of services. That's all we can implement right now. But again, through conversations with public safety, we're finding that legislation does need to be updated. And within the body of that, most likely we will enter a fine system that the police officers can enforce.
And also with that though, regarding, I guess, VO and Bird, are there any penalties associated with them that, no, this is a question to you, Director, with their compliance or lack thereof in certain situations? I don't know if there's something specific towards maybe the time in which the scooters need to be picked up. Are there any penalties associated to VO or Bird if certain things aren't met, or certain conditions aren't met, or certain things aren't complied with?
Okay. I will have to review the contract, Councilman Crump, to be honest with you. And again, this is an ever-evolving kind of a technology and service. If it comes to that point that the companies themselves are not being compliant to what the city needs, then we will move towards that. At this point, we're collaborating with each other and just holding ridership accountable, because most of the issues are mainly with the rider's responsibility.
And I'm sorry, one more question, just regarding, do we have any data? And we're just getting this, so I'm looking through it. Do we have any data associated with the timeliness of picking up these scooters in terms of,
You understood?
over the course of?
Okay, I'm gonna hand it over because I know that we have plenty of data and the companies can.
It's on one of the last slides, Austin Marchman again. You'll see
We
that.
can't hear.
Sorry. On one of the last slides, you'll see that our idle scooters have gone down to 2%. So that means that both Bayo and Bird are able to make sure that we're getting to each of those scooters prior to the idle time, 72 hours, on 98% of the time. This is one of the issues you brought to us in January of this year. Both Bayo and Bird have increased our employment to make sure by 50%, to make sure we can hit those numbers. So whereas before we were picking up something like 90% of our scooters on time, we're at 98% now, and we're increasing ever higher, even with greater deployment during the summer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Crump. Councilman Gonzalez? Your mic is off. Your mic is off.
What I see is, I see this service as a quality of life, affecting quality of life more than benefiting quality of life. We have a lot of kids running these vehicles on the sidewalks, running these vehicles in between traffic, against traffic, and you have GPS and you have control of the speed. They say these individuals are doing more than 25 miles an hour on the sidewalk. So why don't you control that? Why don't you, let's say, put some kind of restraint on the speed that they can have on the sidewalks? You have control over that, and I believe that the technology that you have would allow you to do that very, very easy. Again, if you see someone in the middle of the street with a GPS, you should have some kind of signal sent to that individual that he should be on the, let's say, by the sidewalk, not on the sidewalk, but by the sidewalk, and not in the middle of the street. I believe that, let's say, we have a proliferation of these vehicles, not only yours, but the ones that people are buying to, let's say, to operate in the city. And every day you see people, let's say, at lights going through the red light with traffic coming. So I believe that we are just waiting for a lot of people to be injured and if not killed, operating this kind of vehicles.
Thank you, Councilman Gonzalez. To your point, the units operated under Newark Go have a speed limit of 20 miles per hour. And they, I'm sorry. Oh, 15. I apologize. 15 miles per hour. And ridership on sidewalks is prohibited. And this is when we team up with MPD, because if they are seen on the sidewalks, a police officer can give them a ticket. The other thing that I wanted to share, which is another pinch point that we have with MPD, is that a lot of the irresponsible riders, I would say most of the irresponsible riders, are personal scooters, personal bikes, delivery bikes, not necessarily provided or branded by these companies. We have data on it. And we at Traffic and Signal actually keep tabs on all our traffic incidents and accident reports. We communicate with MPD, not only for the safety and what we need out in the streets, but to make sure that the companies behind me are being held accountable if there are major accidents. So we do have data on that, and unfortunately, it's a challenge for our city to have to enforce scooters when the privately owned ones are just being driven very irresponsibly across the board.
Yeah, but if the police is going to enforce the law, I suppose they're going to enforce the law against anyone that is doing the wrong thing. Do we have any statistics as to how many tickets have been issued for people that are running on the sidewalks?
Zero.
Zero. So we have a sense of lawlessness in the city when it comes to motorcycles, when it comes to the electric bicycles, when it comes to the mopeds, when it comes to cars running the lights. You can go to any corner in the city of Newark and wait there, and you will see at least 2 or 3 cars going through a red light. So I believe that they say we have to enforce the law, because otherwise people believe that let's say that we are a lawlessness city. And I tend to agree with them that we have a lot of violations that are not being enforced, including the ones that just mentioned about, let's say, riding the aveo and the birds on the sidewalks. We have to do better.
Any other comments? All right. None of this is new, right? No, right? No, you could shake. Yes. Is it new? Is this new information to you? No, right? You just come back again and we're saying the same thing over and over again. It's honestly kind of tiring today for you to be back here before us and we're saying the same thing over and over again. I think that folks here want to support, and we've been supportive. Like, we've shown support to the rideshare program. I think it's very beneficial to residents. I think those who are using it properly, who are getting from A to B around the city, enjoy it. I think they enjoy the cost of it. I think that it's something definitely helps us have equitable transportation here in the city. We support that 150%. We love that. I love that. I was the first one to hop on one of those scooters and do a demo with many companies we had before that came to us. But the implementation of it has failed. It doesn't work. That's why folks are complaining, not because we just want to spend past our 12 o'clock hour just so we can come back here in another 45 minutes for budget hearings to complain to you about how it's not working. It doesn't work. No one's enforcing anything. No one is doing anything. Rather, it's your scooters or the private scooters that people are riding. And that is a problem. Like engineering, along with the police department, along with law, need to get together and come up with some ordinances and a strategic plan on how to address the riding. This includes the Uber Eats, which I was with Councilman Silva, a couple of weeks ago at one of his locations, and they were complaining about Uber Eats and folks who are on bicycles and, automatic, vehicles, that are delivering food, sitting out in crowds. All of these things are new things to our communities all across New Jersey, not just a Newark thing, it's all over. And we have to find some way, look to see what other cities are probably doing to bring it to Newark or create something that we can address some of these things before we continue to have folks get hurt. Folks call our office complaining about people riding on sidewalks, about the scooters still being left for hours and days because you guys have not hired more people to pick them up. It's not happening. We still see them there. And you come back here for a follow-up and you tell us the same thing. You give us this printout thing and it's still not working. Today, Director, when you have your budget hearing, correct? When you come here today, I want you to come to talk to this council about what, and I asked this, so you should probably already have it because I asked it meetings ago. What is the option for the docking system here in the city? What is it that we can do to have that? How much does it cost? Because leaving them all over the city isn't working. Doesn't work because you don't pick them up. So we need that information because that is the only way, one of the ways, because we have many issues, but one of the ways on how we can control these bikes left all over the place and no one picking them up because they don't have to return them anywhere. Councilman Kelly talked about the docking locations. We don't have them. You don't got them here. It's a dockless program. Unlike when you go to other cities, they don't have dock lists because it doesn't work. They want you to park the bikes back to where they go. And because of the constant complaints, because we up here, spend a day with us, we can show you, people email, call, talk about it at the community meetings about how you don't pick up the bikes and the bikes are just left all over the city. So that today, when we come back, we're going to be talking about that. I want to hear about what are the options, the financial options for us to continue to have the program, but have a docking station at multiple locations. And then once again, I'm going to reiterate it again. Director, you along with Director Farajay and the law need to get together to put some ordinances in play. You can't just come and keep talking about the program and you have you are not, adapting to the 21st century of what we're dealing with right now. We have to address those matters and work with the council and the clerk about getting something passed immediately because it is a severe problem when you tell me, oh, I don't know, we have state law, but we're not issuing any summonses. That's a problem. That's crazy. Like they even say that out loud. We should not be doing that. We have to do better. Like we're the largest city in New Jersey and we should be doing better. On that note, I'm going to dismiss us because it is now 1:00 and we have a budget hearing at 4. Thank you everyone for coming out. Look forward to seeing you at the budget hearing at 4.